What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 1 id. Chapter 1. Advertise here. Existence not allowed to be mentioned in Chapter 1. As the world government crazy. It's going to go to war with that man. As Marine finally breaking the balance with the 4 emperors. What will the world be like if I lose? See Circle Calendar 1502. The world was ignited by a piece of news, and Whitebeard's 2nd Division captain, Fire Fist, Ace was arrested. Marine issued a public sentence on Ace the next day. Once the news spread, the world is shaking, and everyone with a discerning eye understands that this is a Marine's declaration of war on one of the 4 emperors, Whitebeard. Ha ha ha, this battle will affect the future direction of the world. The fate of the world lies in this battle. Oh, no, if Marine loses, what should we join countries do? All over the world, scenes like this are constantly being staged. The first half of the Grand Line. A man-made building sits alone in the sea area called the Sea King's Lair, which is also known as the Calm Belt. Impel down the world's largest prison that shuts down countless murderous pirates. Here, the big pirates holding a bounty of more than tens of millions are like the crucian carp that crosses the river, and there are still countless pirates offering a bounty of hundreds of millions. This big prison, known as the Bronze and Iron Walls, is extremely lively today because of the existence of a single person. Mosimo C. Hannibal, are there any changes in prison inmates from the 1st to 5th floors? 5 floors underground, freezing hell. The warden, Magellan, is sitting on the toilet with a mask. While trying hard, he asked a snail dressed like a pharaoh. Ah, you are so disgusting. Can you stop calling someone in the toilet? As expected, I am the only one who can be the director. Ah, no, I'm telling the truth. The phone worm said with an exaggerated expression. Answer me seriously. Magellan, this man known as the strongest man in the deep sea prison is also the highest commander here, Director Impel down. Those with poisonous fruit ability, because of their ability, will always cause themselves to have diarrhea, and spend more than half of the day sitting in the toilet. Reply to the director, everything is normal. The other side of the phone worm. Hannibal, located in the monitoring room, sat in front of the monitoring station and stared at the screen in front of him. Single quote. The screen in front of him was divided into countless small pieces, and each small piece corresponds to the picture of each layer of prison. Red lotus, beasts, hunger, scorching heat, extreme cold. Very well. Pay attention to the good situation, after all, today's son of Roger. Fire Fist, Ace will be pressed into Impel down, waiting for the next trial. Definitely have to be optimistic. Quote. Magellan said bitterly. But isn't he going to enter the 6th floor? Hannibal said disapprovingly. The 6th floor, unlimited prison. A layer suppressing the terrorist pirates is also a layer unknown to outsiders. Then also pay attention, after all, he is still the captain of the 2nd Division, of the Whitebeard pirates. There must be no accidents before the execution day. There is one last day, and he will be taken away the next morning. Quote. Yes, by the way, that guy on the 7th floor. You should be given this month's medicine today, haven't you gone for it? Hannibal asked Magellan. Shut up, how many times have I told you about this kind of thing? The existence of that place and that person can't be said. Why can't you remember? Magellan yelled frantically at the phone bug like an ignited explosive barrel, but the voice was still so suppressed that only 2 people could hear it. Sorry T katakana middle dot T. Listening to Hannibal's apology, Magellan seemed to think of something terrifying and said quietly, that's the man who was wiped out by the world government. Naval Headquarters, Malin Fodor. Marine Marshal Sengoku looked at his old friend, Marine hero, Garp, sitting in his office. What's wrong? Ace's affairs have been released, Garp. Don't want to do anything to betray Marine. Seeing Garp who behaved completely different from usual, Sengoku said seriously. Everything is going according to plan. This is not the time to let you be willful. The old man knows. Garp said with his arms in his arms. Just again. But Sengoku. The old man is also a human. Garp, 20 years have passed since that matter, haven't you let it go? How could it be possible to put it down? That's the old man's. Shut up, Garp. That person is no longer allowed to appear in this world. You don't have to do anything this time. Just stay with him. 2 friends who have been friends for many years are sullen at each other because of the existence of the other. When the world fell into panic after the Whitebeard, 2nd Division, Captain, Fire Fist, Ace was sentenced to death by Marine. Impel down, Magellan walked on the 6th floor, eternal hell. Listening to various legendary pirates' abuse and molesting, Magellan walked silently to the deepest room on the 6th floor. After entering this empty room, Magellan pressed the button on the wall. A passage was silently opened on the ground, and Magellan walked slowly down. As he walked down, Magellan seemed to be hindered by an invisible wave, slowing down. When Magellan finally reached the bottom, it was a room created by seastone mixed with the strongest alloy in the world. Impel down, the 7th layer unknown. Eternal hell. In the center of the room hangs a ball made up of seastone chains. The chains are separated from the ball and fixed at the 4 corners of the room. The ball showed ahead, and people couldn't help sighing what kind of existence it was to be imprisoned here. Magellan felt that the fruit power in his body was suppressed here to be unusable, and then slowly walked towards the ball composed of chains. Walking step by step, the pace is getting harder and harder, and there is also a wave of being hit by the air wave. The level of conquerors has become stronger again, and it was released unconsciously. Magellan finally walked to the ball when he felt a little difficult to breathe. He took out a shot of blue potion from his arms and hid it towards the leaking neck, slowly injecting the blue potion that looked like a starry sky inside. After the potion was injected, Magellan looked at the dark-haired handsome man. If there hadn't been that incident, you should still be so dazzling. Pineapple. The phone worm in Magellan's arms rang. It's me, Magellan, what's the matter? Nani. Straw Hat Kid broke into prison. I'll be right now. Magellan quickly ran to the exit. But he didn't notice that the head behind him moved slowly. Chapter 2. Advertise here. Chapter 2 Monkey D. Luo Ye. The sky was dark, but Malin Foder was in dilapidated condition as naval headquarters. On the central square lay a lot of Marines who were seriously injured, and a large number of Marines stood in front of a man. Including Garp and Sengoku. Luo Ye, Yamelu, do you know what you are doing? Sengoku shouted while looking at the man in the Marine Vice Admiral cape. The man named Luo Ye dropped Sakazuki, who had been seriously injured and unconscious in his hand, and looked at all the high-end combat power that blocked his naval headquarters in front of him. Get out, Luo Ye said blankly. Garp walked out of the Marine crowd, trembling. Luo Ye, don't force the old man to take action. Looking at the old man with white hair at the sideburns in front of him, Luo Ye showed a trace of emotion. Father. F***K me. The picture is like a faulty version, the sound and the picture become messy, a gap unfolds from the picture, and the light fills the whole picture. Impel down, 7th floor, eternal space. Well. The man whose head leaked from the chain ball slowly opened his eyes. If the Straw Hat group is here, he will be surprised. This man looks very similar to Luffy, with the same black hair and black eyes. The difference between the two is that Luo Ye is a mature version of Luffy with a filter and beautiful male style. Luo Ye yawned, turned his neck to look at the surrounding environment, and cried silently in his heart. System. Luo Ye is a traveler. He traveled to the world of One Piece 36 years ago and became Garp's youngest son. Luo Ye, who owns the sign in System, enters Marine. The strength continues to soar. It has also become the youngest candidate for the grand prize in history. If it weren't for Kong Kong, Luo Ye's age and seniority would not be enough. Luo Ye may become the youngest Marine admiral in history. It wasn't until the worst incident in history happened 20 years ago. The existence of Monkey D. Luo Ye in Dahai was obliterated by the world government. Luo Ye himself was secretly pushed into the 7th layer of Impel down specially created for him. After entering the 7th floor, the government has been using the special hypnosis agent invented by Vegapunk to make Luo Ye fall asleep. Until today. Ding, sign into Love Heaven X1 today. Open the system warehouse, wow. With so many things, how many years have I been detained? Luo Ye looked at the stacks of items in the system warehouse. Not only left a drop of cold sweat. Fortunately, the system can organize the backpack, but the body feels a little weak. These guys don't treat captives preferentially at all. I am also a former Marine Admiral candidate. See if I lose my body. I remember that there should be a rejuvenating medicine in the backpack. I looked for it and found it. Hee, take it out. F***K. The system is not on purpose. Luo Ye looked at the pills falling from the air to the ground, and then looked at himself being hung in the air by a chain ball. Involuntarily scolded the system. After a period of greetings to his family, the system finally changed the place where the medicine appeared to Luo Ye's mouth. After the pill was chewed into the stomach, a burst of energy slowly filled the body, and the cells in the body were cheering and absorbing the energy that had not been seen for a long time. After Luo Ye felt the power full of his body, he immediately burst out the use of emission in an armed color. The chain seemed to have received an attack from the inside, and one by one broke. After reaching the limit, the chain ball broke directly into metal fragments and inserted into the surrounding walls. After Luo Ye fell on the ground, he moved his limbs and exuded observation haki to perceive the surroundings. As the feeling coming from all around and below the feeling of seastone and the ocean. There are many people on it, and each of them seems to be okay. Well, this big-headed baby feels so familiar, as well as this young man in a straw hat. Quote. Oh, Luo Ye knocked his hand and said, ah, isn't this Evakov and Luffy? They appear here, which means that the upper level is the 6th floor. Is it the case that Luffy broke into Impel down, so is the top battle about to begin? Quote. You can't miss the war at the top. I have to meet my old friends. It should be almost 20 years away, ha ha ha. But it's impossible to see my nephew wearing this kind of clothes. Monkey D. Luo Ye looked at the prison uniform on his body. System, give me the marine uniform and cloak I used to wear, but I want a special version. After all, this is to declare to the world that Monkey D. Luo Ye's return is spread. Chapter 3. Advertise here. Chapter 3 Luo Ye and Luffy. Impel down, at the exit of the 6th floor. The upward stairs were blocked by stone pillars, and there was still gas leaking in the gaps. Luffy, Ivankov, and Lightning looked at the man in the prison in front of him. Formerly Shichibukai, Sand Crocodile, Crocodile. I thought it wouldn't be fun to escape outside, but Whitebeard is going to fight Marine. Unexpectedly, there was a chance to take down that old man's first level. I was interested in that war. As long as there is my strength, you and I can escape from here. How about, my proposal is not bad. Straw Hat Boy. Crocodile looked at Luffy and said. Bump. The loud noise of a lifetime, accompanied by thick smoke, came out from the bottom of the 6th floor. At this time, all the alarms on the 1st to 6th floors sounded. When the Luffy trio were nervous and sweating while looking at the thick smoke ahead, the sound of leather shoes walking by came out of the thick smoke. The slow pace seemed to be on top of the heartbeats of all the people on the 6th floor, and the heartbeats of all the people on the 6th floor were beating with the rhythm of the leather shoes on the ground. After Luo Ye, dressed in a jet black suit and a black marine cape, walked out of the thick smoke, the heartbeats of the big pirates who had experienced 20 years ago suddenly stopped for a few seconds. Luo Ye looked around and looked at Luffy after being imprisoned with many familiar faces. Luffy, who was stared at by Luo Ye, seemed to have the pressure of a world pressed on him, making him tremble all over when he wanted to kneel down. Ivankov said in horror, impossible. You man still exists in this world. And there is no change in appearance. Is this man still alive? He was also locked up in Impel down. It's really hard to laugh. The sweat on Crocodile's face remained like a waterfall. As this man, Jinbei looked at the blood-red word justice on Luo Ye's back cloak. Ha ha ha, you are still alive. Luo Ye, why is this demon still alive? Hey, let me out. Luo Ye, I'm going to kill you. This time the world is about to become chaotic. I'm really curious about the expressions of those high-ranking masters. Jia Jia Jia. On the 6th floor, the legendary big pirates who hadn't spoken for a long time looked at Luo Ye and started screaming frantically. As for the deputy director who watched everything happen in the monitoring room, Hannibal was shaking all over, holding the phone bug and shouting, Magellan. You bastard. Didn't you go to inject drugs yesterday? Why did that man wake up? Come here. I'm going to die this time. On the other side of the phone worm, Magellan's cold sweat and venom were mixed. Let Domino, the head of the beauty caretaker next to him, clutched his nose and shouted, what are you doing? Director. The poison is coming out. Domino sauce. Let's announce it. Completely block Impel down. That man has come out. Magellan said to Domino. That man. Is it? The man who was obliterated by the world government, the man who once defeated 70% of the naval headquarters alone, Monkey D. Luo Ye. The screen returns to the 6th layer. Luo Ye, in a dark suit, looked at the three in front of him, his main gaze was still Luffy. The surrounding pirates were still arguing, and suddenly a black-red air wave came from Luo Ye's body. Wherever the air wave went, even the iron jail of the prison cracked. The pirates who received the shock from the front fainted one by one. Boy, don't think that you have conquerors. From the depths of the prison came several waves of conquerors and Luo Ye's conquerors opposed to each other. Hey, after all, you are at this level. Luo Ye smiled coldly. The black and red hockey directly crushed the other strands of conquerors. Several humming noises came from deep. After solving a few thorns, Luo Ye still looked at Luffy and said, Little devil, your name. Luffy looked at Luo Ye in front of him, and forcibly stopped the trembling from the soul and shouted, Who are you? Don't stop me from saving Ace. Luo Ye lowered his head slightly, making it difficult to see his expression. Ivankov thought, if it is that person, he and the Straw Hat Boy are closer than we are, and the operation to save Ace can be carried out successfully. After all, Ace is also his nephew. After thinking about it, Ivankov stood up, Your Excellency Luo Ye. I am the revolutionary leader Ambrio Ivankov, a friend and companion of the dragon, please listen to us please. Shut up, I didn't ask you anything. Luo Ye said to Ivankov. Conqueror's hockey directly narrowed down and faced Ivankov alone. Breathe, I can't breathe. Ivankov was crushed alone by Luo Ye's terrifying conquerors, and the floor under his feet began to have cracks. Seeing this, Luffy jumped directly in front of Ivankov and shouted at Luo Ye, Stop, bastard. You are not allowed to shoot Ivan Sauce. Rubber, pistol. After revoking conquerors facing Ivankov, Luo Ye looked at the fist coming towards him and smiled. What can such a weak fist do? He stretched out his left hand and grabbed Luffy's fist in his hand, and pulled Luffy over with a relaxed pull. Grab Luffy's head with his right hand. Ivankov couldn't help but rushed up watching this scene, but was overwhelmed by Luo Ye's bottomless conqueror's hockey. Boy, name. My name is Monkey D. Luffy. I am the man who wants to be One Piece. You will remember it. Luo Ye grabbed Luffy's head and put it in front of him, chuckling and said, My name is Monkey D. Luo Ye. First time I met, my nephew. Nephew. XN. My uncle. Luffy looked questioned. Chapter 4. Advertise here. Chapter 4 The Strongest Prison Break Team. My uncle. Luffy looked questioned. Yeah, what's the matter? Luo Ye asked. Then uncle, can you help me save Ace? He was caught by Marine and will be executed soon. Luffy grabbed Luo Ye's arm and said. Luo Ye looked at the big-headed baby Ivankov who was held down by his conqueror's hockey. Forget you, you can't talk in this state. After Luo Ye removed Conqueror's Haki, Ivankov stood up quickly but staggered and said. It's going to die, it's going to die. You can't die, hip-hop. A man like you won't die easily. Dragon also convicted Marine from forming a revolutionary army because of your incident. Really? Did the old man still form a revolutionary army? Luo Ye nodded and asked after knowing, how many years have I been imprisoned? This should be about 20 years old, but how do you do this maintenance? It seems that you are only about 25 years old, Ivankov asked Luo Ye curiously. Who knows? Maybe the potion that Pungabek gave me. Let's go. My nephew, aren't you going to save some ace? Luo Ye released his hand holding Luffy's head and walked towards the stairs. Hey, Sombrero, don't forget me, I can help you make the way up there. Crocodile hurriedly said after seeing the people about to leave. Luo Ye turned his head and looked at Crocodile and said, so weak, forget it, you should stay here as a pirate. Going out is also a scourge. Luo Ye let go of Luffy and walked to the top of the stairs that was sealed by lightning with the floor. He kicked the stone slab to pieces. The leaked gas was directly separated by an aura. Luo Ye stepped up the stairs and walked up. When people were about to follow, Jinbei called to stop. When Luo Ye slowly walked to the 5th floor, many prison guards held guns in front of him. Stop, or we will shoot. Facing the threats from the prison guards, Luo Ye didn't seem to see their presence, and Conqueror's Haki broke out. After passing by the fainted prison guards, Luo Ye continued to walk forward. At this time, the 3 people who were behind Tolls followed Jinbei and Crocodile. Luo Ye glanced at it and ignored it. His Excellency Luo Ye, let us go to our base first. Bring more people to make a breakthrough, Ivankov said. Luo Ye directly began to spread his observation Haki all over the prison. The few people who felt the most powerful began to rush down, and some strange auras came on the sea. It should be Magellan going down. As for the people who came from the sea should be Blackbeard, maybe it's annoying to kill them directly and impel down. Luo Ye wanted to play with Luffy, who was scarred in front of him, and took out the healing medicine from the system backpack and said to Luffy, Luffy, eating this can eliminate fatigue and hidden scars on your body. Oh, arigato, uncle. Luffy swallowed the medicine Luo Ye had given him in one gulp, and the injuries on his body were visibly eliminated. Is there no defense against me? Or is it pure heart? Luo Ye looked at Luffy and thought. Are you ready? You disgusting guys. Luo Ye looked at the new ladyboys with disgust. Hi, XN. Ace. I'm here to save you. Luffy ran out first. This is really the strongest prison escape team. Hip-hop, Ivankov said while looking at Luo Ye's back. Luo Ye also smiled, and appeared at the top of the stairs in a flash, stepping up. The prison guards who came to the suppression were all met by Luo Ye. Conqueror's Haki directly suppressed the stun. Luo Ye quickly reached the 4th floor. After kicking the door open, Magellan smiled as he looked at Magellan who had brought a large number of prison guards to suppress it. It's been a long time, Magellan. Are you the director of Impel Down? It's not bad. The venom from Magellan's body gushed out, and a poisonous dragon formed behind him. Your existence has been wiped out by the world government, you shouldn't appear in this world again. Go back quickly, or I will kill you. Luo Ye. Huh, go back, I don't want it. Luo Ye replied with a smile. After that, a large amount of venom collided with the armament Haki released outside. Chapter 5. Advertise here. Chapter 5 Crushing. Impel Down 4th Layer Blazing Hell. The sea of venom collided with a beam of armament Haki, and black and red lightning flashed continuously between the two. Luo Ye looked at the venom in front of him and smiled. It seems that in the past 20 years, you have exercised pretty well, and you can develop the fruit ability to this level. Magellan urged his abilities with all his strength. Let me talk about the old days when I push into the 7th floor, Poison Dragon. 3 purple venom dragons rushed towards Luo Ye. Luo Ye lifted his leg and easily kicked out a black crescent-like slash that easily smashed the 3 poisonous dragons. The subsequent power also knocked Magellan back tens of meters. Looking at the many Marines who were affected by his own abilities behind him, Magellan ordered everyone to stay away from the battlefield, and Luo Ye stood there with a smile and looked at Magellan's various commands. Magellan pulled off the 2 horns of his head as a weapon guard and looked at Luo Ye. What's the matter? Don't you come here? Luo Ye looked at Magellan curiously. If you don't come, I'll go. Luo Ye, who appeared in front of Magellan like a flash, wrapped the top armament Haki with his right hand, flashing black and red thunder punched Magellan's abdomen. Magellan was blown into the air by Luo Ye, but controlled Luo Ye. The venom under his feet wanted to wrap Luo Ye. Too slow, Magellan. Although the idea is good. Luo Ye appeared again behind Magellan who was still in the air and kicked him out of the air. Boom. When Magellan hit the ground and bounced back, a huge pit was formed on the ground, and Magellan also vomited a lot of blood. He stood up danglingly with his arms supported by both hands. Is there really perseverance? Doesn't it hurt? Luo Ye looked at Magellan, who was struggling to stand now. This is my duty as the director. I must stop you. Luo Ye. Magellan posed again. Pineapple. The phone worm in Magellan's arms rang. Take it, what might be the important thing? After listening to Luo Ye's words, Magellan picked up the phone worm. It's me, what's the matter? Director. Not good. The clown buggy and Mr. 3 released the pirates on the second floor. And Shichibukai Blackbeard also forcibly broke into Impel down and broke through the ground. Quote. Nani. After listening to the report, Magellan looked at Luo Ye in horror. Are you hesitating? Is it me or above? Magellan. Luo Ye said to Magellan, feeling the scene brought by observation hockey. My personal opinion, it's better for you to deal with the above first. After all, it's not good for so many pirates to escape. As for me, you can't organize me by yourself, can you? You guy, what do you want to do? Luo Ye. Magellan shouted to Luo Ye. I just want to see familiar people, homesick. Luo Ye puzzled. Luo Ye. Well, first was also Marine Vice Admiral before. If it weren't for the trash, I should be Admiral now. What's wrong? Don't you trust my former colleagues? Magellan. I'll get rid of the top first, and then I will shut you into the 7th floor. Luo Ye. Ha ha ha, please. Poison passage. Magellan turned and ran towards the upper level. Sand blade. Suddenly Crocodile sneaked towards Magellan's back, but Luo Ye kicked Crocodile's attack to pieces, turned around with a heavy blow, and crushed Crocodile to the ground. A pit tens of meters in diameter was formed again, and Crocodile directly vomited blood. Your Excellency Luo Ye, boy Clue. Luffy, Jinbei and Ivankov behind finally caught up. Looking at Crocodile at Luo Ye's feet, everyone looked at him with disdain. Jinbei. Sneak attack is not done by a night. Luffy. Sure enough, you are not a good person. Ivankov. Boy Crow deserves it. But Lord Luo Ye, Boy Crow is still useful. Luo Ye. Really, I let Magellan leave, but you attacked. Slap me in the face. Crocodile. I'm so sorry. Luo Ye Songyo. I also think about our own escape from prison. I think for your sake. Luo Ye lifted his foot and kicked Crocodile directly with a slash. As for his death, Luo Ye was not in the mood to care. Luo Ye said to the crowd, hurry up, now it's not more than 6 hours before the execution. Ace. Waiting for me. Luffy rushed out after listening. Activity time. May 1st to May 5th. New book asks for support. Thousands of mountains and rivers are always sentimental. Is it okay to throw a flower? 300 flowers plus 1 more. 100 comments plus 1 more. 10 comments plus 1 more. Reward is not forced. As long as there is data, add more. So many saved manuscripts are not wasted, and the rules are more real and effective. Thank you first. Chapter 6. Advertise here. At the same time, Impel down the second layer. Thief ha ha ha. What is the strongest existence in the world? What is it? There is nothing in front of my Blackbeard. Blackbeard Marshal D. Teach laughed wildly at the guards who were sucked into the dark acupuncture path. The plan is completely successful. The thieves ha ha ha. When the execution of Ace, the whole Marine's attention was mainly focused on Malin Foder, preparing for the war with Whitebeard. The attention to Impel down was the lowest in history. Thief ha ha ha, but your plan to cleverly win the Marine battleship into Impel down is really good. Lafitte. Blackbeard had a big belly and laughed with his big mouth that was missing a few teeth. Lafayette. Captain, the plan is just starting now. Giza's badge is doing a bodybuilding pose. Ha ha ha. Let's get started. The poison Q spread on the horse coughed with a smile. With a scope on his face, Van Cow held his beloved sniper rifle and looked at his companions. This is also destiny. At this time, a man dressed in a long guard costume appeared in front of the Blackbeard pirates. Hannibal was standing at the entrance of the 3rd floor, shaking frightened all over. The director hasn't come yet. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm dead. Deputy Director, Blackbeard has broken through the 2nd layer of defense, and will soon be here. Oh, no, we must be here until the director arrives. Hannibal was holding a knife in both hands to protect the gate even though he was shaking. Straw Hat Boy, don't rush so fast. Ivankov shouted while looking at Luffy who was already leading the crowd. By the way, big-headed ghost. Where is the dragon now? Ace's walking speed was like a walk, but was not lost to the runners. Dragon. It should be at the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army now, but may soon lead the comrades to Malin Fendor to rescue Ace. Ivankov said, looking at Luo Ye with a big face. Luo Ye squinted his eyes and thought for a while and said, probably not going there, This is Magellan's breath. Has it already fought? Luo Ye perceives that the people on the 2nd floor have already started fighting, and said to Ivankov, hey, big-headed ghost, you take care of Luffy. I'll go and play first. After finishing speaking, the floor under his feet broke directly, and Luo Ye directly rushed up above Luffy as if he was instantaneous. Hip-hop. Leave it to me. Wait for me, Straw Hat Boy. The entrance to the 3rd floor, 3 minutes ago. Magellan looked at Hannibal, who was seriously injured and dying, and the guards lying around. The venom on his body began to burst. Ziahaha. It's terrible, Director Magellan. Everyone in Blackbeard looked at Magellan and laughed. Who did it? Ah, what are you talking about? Who else is there besides us? Ha ha ha, Blackbeard said arrogantly. Really, as Shichibukai, since you appeared in Impel Down, are you ready to die? Blackbeard, Magellan said with a gloomy expression. Huh, you are here, Nani, poisonous dragon. Magellan turned into a venom-like shape. The venom on his body formed a huge dragon and rushed towards Blackbeard. The ground that he passed was corroded and deformed by the venom. Dark water. Blackbeard's hands turned in darkness to catch the poisonous dragon, and the poisonous dragon was slowly absorbed in the dark uzumaki of Blackbeard's hands. Nani, have my venom been absorbed? Magellan looked at the strange side in front of him in surprise. Thief, ha ha ha, the capable person is nothing in front of me. Magellan, I am the strongest devil fruit. Dark fruit. Then ha ha ha. Blackbeard looked at the surprised Magellan in front of him with an arrogant smile. Damn it, it's different from the plan. How could Magellan appear so early? I don't know what happened to the antidote. Can only knock him down first. The pirates behind them took out their guns and fired at Magellan. The bullets shot out were all blocked by Magellan's venom and corroded. Thief, ha ha ha, Director Magellan, we just want to help you suppress the riots. After all, we are companions, aren't we? Thief, ha ha ha. Magnellan, have you been a companion with the pirate? A magnetic bass sounded beside Magellan. Fart. Magellan looked at the handsome man in black suit who was standing beside him. Are you here yet? Luo Ye. That's right, no one in this prison can stop you. The corners of Luo Ye's mouth curled up slightly. Just kidding, your character is still so serious, Magellan. Magellan watched Luo Ye with his hands in kabuto slowly walking in the direction of the Blackbeard group. Magellan. What do you want? Luo Ye. Don't worry, it's just that this ugly ghost is unhappy and wants to kill him. Luo Ye's lips curled up, and he pointed at Blackbeard indifferently. Ah, who are you? Why do you want to kill me? Blackbeard shouted to Luo Ye. It's nothing, just look at you upset, you are so ugly to my eyes. Luo Ye said while simulating the action of wiping his eyes with his hand. A black bastard. Die to me, secret cave way. Blackbeard looked at Luo Ye in a black suit, touching the ground with both hands to release his fruit ability. The darkness is like a river rushing from the feet of Blackbeard to Luo Ye. Where the darkness passed by, the body of the guard began to plunge into the darkness, and the weapon also fell into the darkness. Luo Ye felt the darkness under his feet, and watched the darkness pulling his body to drag himself into the darkness. Magellan. Luo Ye. Luo Ye turned his head to look at Magellan and smiled slightly. Don't worry, just these people, Luo Ye, kill indiscriminately. Luo Ye. Who? Puff. When Blackbeard heard Luo Ye's name questioning, Luo Ye was already out of his ability. When he came to him, his fist hit Blackbeard's body with black and red lightning. Blackbeard's belly was directly concave with a punch. With a punch, Blackbeard's body flew back with a hurricane, and there was still a little blood falling in the path of his flight. Boom. Captain. Exon. When Blackbeard's body hit the wall in the air heavily, Blackbeard's teammates realized that someone else was standing in the position of their captain. What are you looking at? Bump. Luo Ye smiled and grabbed Lafayette's head and slammed into Giza's badger's head, and then instantly jumped to the top of Poison Q, and knocked Poison Q with his horse. It smashed into the ground fiercely and formed a huge pit. Boom. After Van Kao reacted, he quickly fired 5 consecutive shots in Luo Ye's direction. However, Luo Ye used the color of foreseeing the future and easily avoided him sideways. Luo Ye stepped forward to Fan Kao, grabbed his sniper rifle, and tried to pull him in front of him. Unexpectedly, the opponent dropped the sniper rifle and jumped back, taking out the pistol behind him and shooting at Luo Ye. Luo Ye wrapped his arms around his left hand and easily grabbed the bullet. Tempest kick Yi Lan. Luo Ye watched Lafayette and Giza's badgers, who were struggling to get up, directly kicked them 2 black and red slashes. Lafayette was directly slashed and flew out. Giza's badgers barely used armament hockey, but a deep injury was also drawn on his chest. F***K. After Luo Ye broke up a few people, Blackbeard fell off the wall. It hurts. It hurts me to death. Ah, it hurts. Blackbeard clutched his bloody belly and shouted, rolling frantically on the ground. Chapter 7. Advertise here. Hiss. Magellan's pupils suddenly opened, and when she looked at the Blackbeard pirates group that Luo Ye had easily beaten in a few seconds, she couldn't help taking a breath. This guy has been imprisoned for 20 years, and his strength hasn't diminished in the slightest. It's really terrifying. He deserves to be a man who did that kind of thing. It hurts. It hurts. Seeing Blackbeard who was still rolling and crying in front of him, Luo Ye patted the ashes that did not exist on his suit. Luo Ye raised the corner of his lips and looked at Blackbeard slantingly. Hey, what's the matter? You are not at this level, are you? Now Marine's vision for selecting Shichibukai has dropped very badly. Blackbeard stood up panting and looked at Lafayette, whose hands had turned into wings behind Luo Ye, and Van Kao, who had no sniper rifle in his hands, and Giza's badges with blood on his chest. And the Poison Q in the pit. How could it be like this? Obviously, the previous plan was completely in accordance with my plan. Regardless of becoming Shichibukai, it's the war between Marine and Dad, obviously everything went so smoothly. Why? Impel down shouldn't have your number. Who are you? Quote. Blackbeard's eyes were splitting, and he pointed to Luo Ye frantically and shouted. I don't want to tell you, die for the Lord. Shave. Luo Ye looked at Blackbeard who was shouting in front of him, and sneered, the ground under his feet shattered instantly. He stepped forward to Blackbeard again. Conqueror's Hockey and the highest level armament Hockey emission erupted at the same time, and the fists were once again wrapped with black and red thunder. A violent wave of air spread out like ripples on top of each other. Ba fist split God. Damn it, die to me. Dark water burst. Blackbeard will again spur Luo Ye with his right hand, which is mixing the fruit ability and the armed color with all his strength. After the two fists crossed, a terrifying storm erupted from the place where they were fighting. With the black and red thunder and the darkness, the entire second floor space was filled instantly, poured in from the corridor, and rushed toward the first and third floors. Where the terrifying fist wind passed, the entire prison they all shook, countless broken stones cracked and dusty. The members of the Blackbeard pirates took the opportunity to gather together against the storm. However, they were all seriously injured, and they could barely resist unless they were close together, and in a short while, they fainted. Magellan used the venom to build a protective layer to protect the seriously injured and fainted soldiers behind him, his body being continuously pushed back by the storm. Magellan was shocked. Well, this kind of power. And Luffy in the stairwell was taken directly by the storm and flew down the stairs. Wow, what is this? Is my uncle a monster? Fortunately, Jinbei caught him quickly. Ivankov and others were also hindered by the powerful storm. Ivankov's eyes widened. This power is terrifying, and I feel that my spirit is about to be defeated. Is it your Lord Luo Ye? Jinbei sighed with emotion. Ah, besides him, I can't imagine anyone in this prison who can play this force with Conqueror's Hockey. The clown Buggy and Mr. Point 3 who were celebrating on the first floor were also blown by the storm and rolled on the ground. Buggy's face was funny and hideous. Ah, what is this? Damn, it's Magellan did it. Just to stop me, Buggy. As expected of Captain Buggy. Let the other party use this kind of power. XN. You obviously think too much. Mr. Point 3 doesn't want to complain anymore. I am tired. As soon as the voice fell, there was a loud bang, and this group of pirates was directly stunned by the conquerors attached to the storm. The prison beasts in the second layer of Impel down were blown by the storm, and all of them fainted directly. After the storm ended, a deep crater with a radius of 50 meters appeared in the area at the center of the storm. Luo Ye looked at Blackbeard, whose right arm had been visibly bent. Roar. Did you resist my punch? Don't say anything else, you guys are not as weak as they seem to be on the surface. Luo Ye shook the blood on his hand and said to Blackbeard. Dark water. Blackbeard's left hand was still wrapped in darkness and struck towards Luo Ye. Tempest kick night break. With a black and red light effect, he quickly kicked out the slash and directly hit Blackbeard first, flying Blackbeard out. Puff. It hurts. It hurts. Mom. Blackbeard fell to the ground, vomiting blood, but he kept rolling and yelling. I remember the side effect of dark fruit is that it makes you feel twice as painful. Can you share with me the feeling of double the pain of a broken arm and twisted one? Luo Ye bent down and said to Blackbeard. Hey, I can't even describe this feeling, it hurts. Uoo. Really, you pirates are really boring. When someone fools you about the existence of a big secret treasure, you want to be a pirate king when you go out to sea. Luo Ye put his hands in his suit pants and said to Blackbeard. What do you know? Human dreams will never end. Really, go to hell and be your dream, pirate. Luo Ye raised his foot, and black and red lightning appeared again and wrapped around his armed feet. My dream won't end like this. Secret Cavern Road reverse release. Luo Ye stepped on it, but only a huge hole in the ground. It deserves to be the word despicable, Blackbeard. Luo Ye looked at the empty place under his feet, turned his head to look at the members of the Blackbeard pirates, and they all disappeared. Chapter 8. Advertise here. Looking at the huge pit at the foot. Luo Ye frowned slightly. What about people? Are you kidding me? This can make you run away easily. Tempest kick Ye land dazzling. There were countless slashes kicked under his feet, and hundreds of cracks were formed in an instant when Blackbeard ran away from the ground. Ba fist Mekong. With another punch, cracks appeared in the space in front of Luo Ye, and the fist wind directly hit a passageway that was 100 meters long and 10 meters deep. Luo Ye finally nodded when he looked at the scene in front of him. Well, it looks like it really ran away. It didn't come out. Is dark fruit capable? Luo Ye turned his head to look at Magellan who was on guard, and she squeezed his shoulders and said to Magellan, what's the matter? Magellan, do you still want to do it with me now? Magellan looked at the originally flat ground in front of him, and now several large pits appeared, and there was a huge pit nearly 100 meters long, and he couldn't help swallowing. I can't let you out. After you go out, who knows if the world will happen again? Is there a mass death of celestial dragons? Luo Ye said before Magellan. Now, Magellan, how many years have you been the director of this Impel down prison? Almost 12 years. Really, haven't you felt it in your 12 years as the director? What? The reason why there are so many pirates in the world is just because of the one pace sentence before Roger's death. Obviously there were a lot of pirates before, right? After listening to Magellan, there was a cold sweat on his face, and he knew that he couldn't keep asking but. Luo Ye, what on earth do you want to say? Do you know the original purpose of many pirates to go to sea? Many are for freedom. Only when you lose yourself slowly in desire will you become an evil pirate, so why should you be free? Who oppressed their freedom? Quote. Luo Ye, you. By the way, it's the world government. It's the rubbish. Celestial dragons who call themselves gods. Well, what I am thinking about now is not to overthrow the world government. Quote. Then what are you doing? I just want to fight with the strong. Only by fighting can you experience the feeling of being alive. This is, for my own justice. Luo Ye waved the cloak behind him, and the blood-red word justice was deeply engraved in Magellan's eyes. Okay, step back, Magellan. Otherwise, you might die next time. Luo Ye looked at the people in Luffy who emerged from the stairs. Magellan let Luffy go and they ran to Luo Ye's side, watching Luo Ye's dark but galaxy eyes and his black suit that looked exactly like Marine Vice Admiral. The venom on his body slowly surging out, slowly turning from purple to red. Poisonous soldier, Hell Judgment. My duty is to protect this underwater prison, Impel down. No one can get out from here. The crimson skeleton giant was displayed in front of Luo Ye and the others, and the terrifying toxin corroded the ground directly, showing a terrifying power far more toxic than purple. Luffy. Ah, it hurts to get hit. Jinbei. Horrible poison. If you get hit, you will die. Ivankov. No, they have the biggest face, and the goal is too big. Luo Ye listened to the twittering voice behind him, a pound sign appeared on his calm face. You are so noisy, can you hurry up? After listening to Luo Ye's words, Luffy and the others turned around and ran towards the exit without looking back. Luo Ye shook the pitch-black cloak behind him, and said to Magellan, for what? Die for duty. Willingly. Ah, isn't it? Luo Ye squatted with his legs, and his right fist was closed into his abdomen. The Conqueror's hockey on his body was compressed 1 meter around, and the red lightning filled his body. Luo Ye, I can't let you out. Hell's trial. Departure. Luo Ye waved his left hand to disperse the giant venom that hit him, and the power accumulated in his right hand blasted out. In Magellan's eyes, it was like a black and red dragon entwined with lightning and attacked at him with its mouth long. Cracks appeared in the surrounding space after the dragon passed by. The giant soldier made up of venom behind him was swallowed by the space crack. But even so, Magellan still rushed towards Luo Ye with enhanced right hand. The dragon dissipated as soon as it approached Magellan. Bump. Magellan's right hand blasted deeply on Luo Ye's black suit. Luo Ye had a brain collapse on Magellan's head. Seeing Magellan still punching, Luo Ye showed a sunny smile. Go, you don't need to give me a hypnosis injection in the future and you will give me an injection of nutrient solution, Chief Magellan sang. Luo Ye turned to Magellan who was still in a trance. Didn't it cause harm? Magellan looked at her right hand, recalling the feeling of the right punch just now. That's the feeling of steel hitting diamonds. In a dark place where everyone hadn't noticed, Shiryu, the guardian Changyuji, who had betrayed him, silently watched what was happening in front of him. He took a sigh of cigar and said silently, fortunately, he didn't act with Blackbeard. However, this prison can't stay. Really, you and Blackbeard are in the same group. Nani. Shiryu looked behind him in horror, and Luo Ye, dressed in a neat and dark suit, stood behind him with Kabuto inserted. Your knife is the 7th-ranked Muramaru of the Supreme Sharp Knife, but it can barely be used. Luo Ye looked at the tie knife in Shiryu's hand. Impel down outside. Buggy, I'm going to save Ace, this ship won't be for you. What nonsense is the Straw Hat Boy, this uncle should not go to death. Seeing not far away, Luffy and Buggy were fighting enthusiastically for the ownership of a warship, Luo Ye slowly walked out with a big sharp knife. Looking at the blue sky in front of me, and the salty sea breeze coming from the pavement. Luo Ye drew out the blood-red big sharp sword Kurayumaru from the scabbard. Although it's not as good as my original weapon, it's a famous sword anyway, well, let's barely make do with it. Chapter 9. Advertise here. What are you kidding? You finally escaped from this prison, but you said you were going to naval headquarters. The clown Buggy looked at Luffy with his mouth wide open in surprise, his chin dropped directly on the ground. Ah, yes, Buggy. Luffy reacted calmly. What's your reaction? What is called? Ah, yes, Buggy. You reacted a little bit more strongly to me, bastard. The clown Buggy imitated Luffy's appearance and then angrily pulled Luffy's face and shouted. Yes, respect Captain Buggy. XN. The pirates who ran out of the first and second floors shouted at Luffy and others. Luo Ye walked ahead and shouted, stop talking, get on the boat and set off. Oh, here comes, XN. The clown Buggy reacted after getting on the boat. Why would I follow you? Luo Ye stretched out, his jet black suit set off his perfect body shape, his black mid-length hair fluttered gently in the wind, and the black marine cape he was wearing set off Luo Ye's domineering temperament. Wow, so handsome. Buggy stared blankly. Luo Ye stretched out and looked at the pirates who had all been on the boat and said, don't be froze, set off as soon as possible. Hi, XN. Buggy. Why would I follow along and agree again? Luo Ye looked at Crocodile on the deck. Ah, I even ran out. Forget it, if you accidentally destroy the ship, let him go first. The warship finally started to start. Jinbei ran to the rudder and began to control the direction. Luo Ye sat beside Jinbei, enjoying the sea breeze with his eyes closed. Well, I haven't felt the sea breeze for a long time. Actually, it didn't take long to tell the truth. I have been sleeping. Hey, why do you guys wear a marine uniform cape, bastard, don't ignore me. Do you know who I am? Buggy ran up to Luo Ye and kept pushing him lazy. Luo Ye listened to the words in his ear and said nothing. He picked up the village rain pill, drew the sword out of the sheath, and sheathed it after a second. Buggy watched as his body had become a little bit floating in the air. Asshole, what are you doing? It's dangerous. Buggy danced on all fours and yelled and made noise. Luo Ye opened his eyes, and Buggy's face and the red nose that made people unable to ignore were reflected in the dark eyes. Long time no see. Red nose, your personality is still the same as before, besides, aren't you afraid of slashing? After listening to Luo Ye's words, Buggy was stunned. You know me, Uncle Buggy. Why don't I remember that I met you? Really? Did you forget that when I was a kid, I used to chase you Roger pirates with my dad? I often beat you in the red hair, red nose. Luo Ye remembered the past and smiled and said to Buggy. Chasing us with Garp. You beat me and Shanks that bastard together. Buggy stared at Luo Ye's face that made countless women scream. In Buggy's eyes, Luo Ye's face slowly diminished and then overlapped with a certain black-haired kid. Ah, it's you bastard. Buggy yelled angrily. Remember it. It was really interesting back then, fighting with you Roger pirates, ha ha ha. Why, you guys still look so young. You are almost 40 years old and you seem to be in your 20s. What kind of maintenance have you done? Tell Master Buggy. Well, various reasons. Listening to Buggy's question, Luo Ye constrained his shoulders and rubbed his stomach. Suddenly Luo Ye sensed something, and said to Jinbei, Murloc, hit the left rudder full. After Jinbei hurried to the left, a few seconds later, the position where the hull was just now was bombarded by artillery shells. Buggy. Wow, it's dangerous. Pirates, surrender quickly, otherwise, we will sink you. An announcement came from the warship behind him. After Luo Ye got on the ship and left Impel down, Magellan issued a chase order to the warships guarding around Impel down to sink the opposing warship. Straw Hat Boy, you can't escape, and the door of justice won't be open for you. Magellan looked at the warship in the thick fog with a sullen face. For Luo Ye, you can fly to the gate of justice and leave by moonwalk, damn it, the world will soon be in chaos. 1, 2, 9 warships are catching up. Ah, Lord Buggy's life is about to end here. After Buggy silently counted the warships he had attacked after the ship, he lay down on the deck and turned grayish-white as if giving up. Ah, damn it, Marine. Counterattack, we are also warships, counterattack. The pirates on the boat are noisy. Bump, F***K. Dozens of artillery shells attacked Luo Ye's boat. Luo Ye sighed as he looked at the panicked pirate on the deck. Muramaru is out of her sheath. A huge black and red slash directly cut all the incoming shells open, and the shells exploded in the air. Boom. The explosion of air pushed the ship and continued to surge forward. As long as the opponent's shells hit, Luo Ye would slash all the shells away with a slash. After a while, a huge door appeared in front of the ship, and the door rose into the clouds. This is the absolute gate created by the world government, the Gate of Justice. Looking at the huge door in front of him, everyone in Luffy was panicked, not knowing what to do. Rear Admiral from the rear warship looked at the Gate of Justice and shouted at Luo Ye's ship. Surrender, pirates. The door of justice will not open for you pirates. Night/wave. Jung. A slashing black and red sword energy of nearly a kilometer long slashed out from Luo Ye's hand, forming a deep trace on the Gate of Justice. Nani. XN. But it was Luffy and the others, a marine from behind, staring out. A few more stabs can open a hole in the door, Luo Ye said in silence while holding the village rain pill, watching his slash on the door. Chapter 10. Advertise here. Boom. Just when Luo Ye was about to proceed with the slash, the Gate of Justice slowly opened a gap. The dazzling light came out from the gap, illuminating Luo Ye's handsome face. Luo Ye squinted slightly. The door opened. Is there a paragraph in the original work? Cannot remember. Jinbei, what are you talking about? Feng Chen stayed in Impel down. Why? It was so easy to escape together. Luffy growled at Jinbei. There is no way. Someone must sacrifice to stay in Impel down to open the door of justice. Otherwise, everyone can't leave. Luffy-kun, don't you still want to save Ace? Quote. Feng Zhang. This phone worm can say goodbye to him last. Luffy-kun. Jinbei took out a phone worm from his arms and said to Luffy. Listening to the conversation between the two, Luo Ye thought of the bandaged ladyboy in his mind. Well, that guy is really a friend. Inside Impel down, power room. Do you really want to open the door of justice, Director Magellan? The power room guard asked Magellan. Magellan, transformed into Bentham, said lightly with his arms folded. When did my order go wrong? Hi, asshole, who gave the order to open the door of justice? Impel down outside. The real Warden Magellan hurried to the power room after listening to the report of the warship ahead. When Magellan opened the door of the power room, he saw another one who was commanding selflessly in the power room. The two Magellans looked at each other immediately, and the scene was once very embarrassing. Blue veins burst out on Magellan's head. You bastard. Who is it? Magellan, who had been in the power room for a long time, touched his cheek with his hand and turned into Von Cray. It's new Jo. The image of you that you used to retain with your ability is really great. After speaking, it became Magellan again. Magellan said to the guard, close the door. Von Magellan. No pass. Close the door. Not allowed. The guard was bewildered by the two wardens in front of him, hovering between the off and off buttons, and finally he pressed the door to close. Von Cray destroyed the controller with one kick. Magellan was furious. You bastard. At this moment, the phone worm in Von Clay's arm suddenly rang. Luo Ye listened to Luffy's farewell to Von Clay, and spoke slowly when the signal was about to be cut off. Magellan, don't embarrass him. Luo Ye's voice is faint, but it is full of power that can't hold his beak. Magellan was silent for a moment. I see. Click. The gate of justice was completely closed after Luo Ye and their ship left. Contact with Von Clay was also broken. Feng Zhong. Wow T. Mr. 2. T. Luo Ye watched silently. Luffy and the buggy crowd were crying in the stern of the boat. Obviously I didn't die, but I was crying for others here, really, but Magellan also promised me that I won't embarrass him anymore. I shouldn't be able to die. Luo Ye muttered while turning his head to look at Jinbei who was at the helm. Jinbei felt Luo Ye's gaze, and his body was a little nervous and sweating. After a while, he found Luo Ye's gaze was still staring at him. Jinbei finally couldn't help asking. Luo Ye sang, why do you look at the old man like this? Luo Ye replied with one hand on his cheek, it's okay, I'm just simply curious, the structure of your murlocs and mermaids, are you two species? Or one species? Haha. Jinbei laughed awkwardly. Looking at Jinbei's reaction, Luo Ye leaked an interesting expression on his face. Looking at your reaction, you seem to know me. I often go in and out of Daddy Whitebeard's boat. I heard Daddy mention you a long time ago. Daddy said that he had fought you for more than 20 years. As a result, and you once saved Big Brother Tiger. This makes us these murlocs respect you very much. Really? Luo Ye lay down and replied boredly. That is my existence, do many people in the world know about it? No, there should not be many people who know your existence. The murlocs who know you are just a few old people who followed Big Brother Tiger back then. Really, it's boring. Luo Ye threw the village rain pill on the ground. However, a character like you was wiped out by the world government. What did you do back then? Jinbei asked as he steered. Don't you know? Luo Ye stretched. I don't know, we just noticed you as the naval headquarters vice admiral. Suddenly one day, your news disappeared from the world. 20 years ago. Naval headquarters, vice admiral single family office. Pineapple. The phone bug rang, awakening the dark-haired boy's sleep. Maximo C. I'm Luo Ye, which one? Luo Ye, 16, dressed in a white suit, yawned and continued on the phone. Luo Ye, it hurts. I know, Luo Ye vice admiral. It's me, Will, don't pinch me. The subordinate is Lieutenant Colonel Will under Rear Admiral, the ghost spider. Luo Ye listened to the voice on the phone. What are you doing? Show me stand-up comedy. No, it's Ainelli who thinks I don't have enough respect for you, Vice Admiral. It's true, it's clear that we two are just kidding. Yes, even if you are young, you have to honestly call me Master Vice Admiral. Luo Ye laughed and teased. Hey, don't go too far. Luo Ye, I'm here to inform you that I will come to my wedding next month. Listening to the other party's words, Luo Ye flipped through the calendar placed on the table, and replied after seeing a note for the next month. I know, I will arrive on time. Yeah, it's an appointment. On rainy nights, heavy rain hit the ground. A teenager in a white suit was standing at a disrupted wedding scene. There are corpses of CP0 all over a luxurious ship. The groom in a tuxedo grabbed his hand. Thank you, Luo Ye, if it weren't for you, I don't know what will happen to Annalie and I. Luo Ye, whose clothes were wet by the rain, looked at the god, protected by the tufts. Luo Ye, in a white military uniform, holding this bloody purple knife, slowly approached several gods, wearing foam helmets. Scenes of memory fragments flashed back in his mind, but did not go deep into it. Luo Ye laughed at himself and shook his head to dispel all these random thoughts. Ha, didn't you do anything? The government is really boring. Luo Ye lay on the side of the boat, resting his head on his head and looking at the sky with his hands. Feeling the sea breeze blowing across his face, he slowly closed his eyes. Just did what I wanted to do, just did the justice in my heart. Luo Ye turned to lie on his side, the blood-red word justice fluttering in the wind on the cloak behind him. Chapter 11. Advertise here. While Luo Ye they were still following the ocean current towards Naval Headquarters. Naval Headquarters, Marineford, Marshal Room. Bump. Garp hit Sengoku's desk with a hard punch. The old man disagrees, why should I say the identity of that child? He obviously does everything. Garp, I won't let your temper this time. This execution will make a huge change to the future situation, the situation between Marine and the pirates. Garp turned around in silence, and walked out without a word. At the same time, the Marine War Room, the generals above Marine Vice Admiral once again drove the final combat deployment. Kizaru looked at the crowd and suddenly said, last time everyone gathered in Marineford like this, it was because of that person. Below, Momoshiki Vice Admiral Gion trembled suddenly. Akainu. Shut up, Pelusolino. That person is forbidden to exist. Aokiji. Allah, didn't you also say this? Akainu's fist turned into lava and lit the table. What are you doing? The battle is about to start soon, don't make a noise about this kind of thing. Naval Headquarters Staff Officer, Vice Admiral stopped to fight. Momosuke Vice Admiral clenched his fists, lowered his head and didn't know what he was thinking. The young generals in the room were whispering to ask who that person was. Naval Headquarters, Shichibukai Gathering Place. The man in the pink feather coat, like a flamingo, couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha, the change of the world is about to begin, so exciting. The fat man who looked like a demon was shaking his long neck. He, will the battle with Whitebeard. There will be a lot of corpses. The violent coon bear holding the Bible said nothing. Why are my concubines waiting with these stinky men? Ah, how are you now, Luffy? The woman surrounded by the giant snake seemed to be sitting coldly, and she didn't know where she was going for a long time. East Blue. Hey, did you know that the Whitebeard pirates are going to fight Naval Headquarters? What's there? Naval Headquarters will definitely clean up those pirates. West Blue. Hey, boss, why didn't you even sell wine today? Shut up. Closed today. If the world is not destroyed tomorrow, I will open a shop again. North Blue. God, please bless us. Goblin Whitebeard. Whitebeard is more terrible than the devil. Grand Line. Sabayati Archipelago, Central Island. Many people gathered in front of the huge screen, watching the live execution scene, Whitebeard and Naval Headquarters War. No matter who wins, the direction of the world will change. Marine must win. Well, it's a good pastime. Impel down, 6th floor. The Huhaitse group, who are all seriously injured physically, are constantly selecting the right companions for their group. Thief ha ha ha, if you want to dominate the world, just come with me, Lousy is the man who will become One Piece. Blackbeard kept promoting himself to the big pirates. Yuji Shiryu looked at his right hand, thinking that he was hung and beaten by the man in the black suit. In the end, even Muramaru was taken away, and the killing intent continued to radiate. Grand Line, White Earth Island, Baldigo. Touch. Long sang, the battle between Marine and Whitebeard is about to begin, the deputy leader of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo, shouted as he looked at the dragon who was resting in the room with his eyes closed. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon opened his eyes and replied. This war is not only a future change between the pirate and Marine. It is also an opportunity for our Revolutionary Army. Sabo asked, why? Regardless of whether Marine wins or loses, the battle with Whitebeard will definitely hurt. The control over the world will be much worse, this is our opportunity. Quote. Yes, I will tell my comrades right away. Seeing the dragon running out of Sabo, he suddenly thought of his brother, who had already known his life and death. Luo Ye, what would you do if it were you? Luo Ye pretended to be serious and said to everyone, ITM go directly in and kill. Luffy looked at Luo Ye with bright eyes, and his face was full of admiration. That's amazing, uncle, let's go quickly, Ace can get it out. Ivankov. Hip-hop, as expected of Lord Luo Ye. Don't be kidding, that was the war between Whitebeard and Naval Headquarters. We would be thrown into scum if we broke in. I don't want to go. Buggy blushed and shouted at Luo Ye. Are you scared, Buggy? Yeah, I was scared to pee. Why can't we find a safe place? Luo Ye thought for a while and said to Buggy. This ocean current is exclusively for the government. The only places it flows through are Naval Headquarters, Impel down and Eni's lobby. I can't go anywhere else. Buggy held his head in both hands. Then we can only go to Naval Headquarters, I don't want it. Crocodile suddenly intervened. Your thoughts are not important, Buggy, most of the people here originally intended to participate in this war. The scene here is in the eyes of the pirates, Buggy is yelling to Luo Ye fluttering on all fours, turning around and talking with Shichibukai, Sand Crocodile. As expected to be Captain Buggy. Shouting to such powerful characters, and they are not angry. How do you know that person is great? Isn't it possible to slash such a terrible slash with a single blow? So, Captain Buggy who can talk to such a great person is amazing. XN. The pirate stared at the clown Buggy, who was still whispering to Luo Ye to escape. These people are not saved. Mr. 3 murmured silently. Luo Ye touched his chin and looked at Buggy who almost cried in front of him. Suddenly a bad taste came. Turning around and shouting to the pirates, hey, pirates. Your Captain Buggy is going to Naval Headquarters to kill Whitebeard and San Admiral. He wants you to follow him. Buggy was so frightened that he couldn't even speak. Hi, Captain Buggy. We will follow you to death. XN. Luo Ye looked with interest at Buggy, who pretended to be a calm pretender in front of the pirates. Smile in my heart. Puff. Obviously I must be scared to cry, what's this? Put more fire. Thinking of this, Luo Ye stood up and shouted. In this war, we must have Captain Buggy active in front of the world. Hi, XN. Buggy became gloomy all over. Ah, my Buggy is dead. Chapter 12. Advertise here. When Luo Ye intentionally scared Buggy to the ground. Blue. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the voice in the pillar. I was nervous for a while. Just when everyone was at a loss, Luo Ye held down Luffy who wanted to act, and jumped in front of the master first, opened the window, revealing the phone worm inside. He took it calmly in the eyes of everyone's surprise. Mosamo C. This is Naval Headquarters, monitoring station. When Luffy heard it next to him, he shouted directly into the microphone, Myri will Luffy. Bump. Luo Ye punched Luffy directly, and asked while clasping the ear that Luffy had hit. What's the matter? We have already investigated clearly. There are 2 main prisoners in your escape this time. One is Luffy, a straw hat. A reward of 300 million is offered. Bailey. Quote. Is there another one? Luo Ye asked, looking at his nails. The other is the clown Buggy. Once the crew on the ship of One Piece Roger, your goal is Naval Headquarters, plan to rescue, Firefist, Ace. But it is impossible for you to succeed. We have closed the gate of justice and you cannot pass. Obediently wait for sanctions in the ocean currents. Quote. I will definitely rescue Ace. Luffy shouted into the microphone even if Luo Ye was pressed. After Luo Ye listened, he found that he hadn't mentioned himself at all. You intelligence department should do a good job, you are not collecting the right information. The main characters have been ignored by you. Nani. The main character, you are, Kacha. Before the other side had finished speaking, Luo Ye directly hung up the phone worm. Looking back, they found that the pirates looked at Buggy admiringly. Nani. Captain Buggy turned out to be a crew member on One Piece Roger's ship. That's amazing. We will follow you to death. Captain Buggy. Buggy wanted to explain to them with a panic face. Luo Ye stopped Buggy with a smirk. It seemed that he was in a good posture, but Buggy couldn't speak with the ingenuity he used on his back. Little ones, follow Captain Red Nose and kill the Marines together. Luo Ye caught the Buggy's neck with his right hand, and raised his left hand to shout to the pirates. Hi, Luo Ye sang. We will follow Captain Buggy. Buggy was crying secretly. Please, brother Luo Ye, let me go. Luo Ye, who had molested Buggy, returned to the rudder and looked at the gate of justice whose outline was faintly visible. Your Excellency Luo Ye, according to Marine just now, the gate of justice is closed. How should we get through? Ivankov asked Luo Ye seriously. Luo Ye tilted his head and looked at Ivankov. How do I know? If you can't get in by then, you can't cut it open with a knife and it's over. After talking, he kicked Muramaru who was kicking his feet. Ivankov looked at Luo Ye in a dark suit in front of him who was still kicking the knife, and the conversation with the dragon resounded. Long, why do you want to overthrow this world government? Is this world not rotten enough? But it is my brother, Monkey D. Luo Ye, that made me make up his mind. Your brother, this name is a bit strange. But what about Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Hidden Dragon? Quote. That admiral candidate who was said to be no weaker than Admiral. However, his news a few years ago was all over the sea. There has been no news of him during this time. Long grasped the guard pole's hand gradually and hard. He was wiped out by the world government. His existence should disappear from the world in a few years, right? Why? Because this world government is a rotten existence. Ivankov recalled the usual indifferent leader, who was angry when he mentioned his brother. Your Excellency Luo Ye, do you want to return to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army with us after you rescue Ace? Long should really want to see you. Luo Ye stopped and kicked Kun Yuan's feet. He looked up at the sky, thinking back to the days when he was a child with dragons. The dragon, who was obviously older than him by so many years, listened to his complaints about the world, like a child who was earnestly absorbing knowledge. Although I have been complaining about this, but I don't want to change the world. But Long listened to my thoughts and set up a revolutionary army, that stupid Oni-san. Okay, let's go see the dragon with you when the time is over, but now I am even more looking forward to seeing another family member of mine. Luo Ye recalled the old man who clearly loved the family but was crushed by the justice behind him. I haven't seen you in 20 years, so you should be a lot older, right? Ivankov looked at Luo Ye who was caught in a certain emotion, turned around and wiped his tears silently. Ah, it's so beautiful, this kind of family bond, Lord Long, Luo Ye, Straw Hat Boy and Ace Boy. I am really moved. After meeting, I must give the old man the iron fist that he loved, and he actually put his own son in jail for 20 years. It's too much. Listening to Luo Ye's self-talk behind him, Ivankov's moved tears disappeared. Chapter 13. Advertise here. Marineford, Naval Headquarters, Central Square. Countless Marines are sitting in the final preparations for this matter, and the generals in cloaks also come out of the battle room, and are responsible for the final mobilization of the Marines in charge. The well-known Marines gathered from all over the world, a total of about 100,000 people, and 50 warships surround the crescent-shaped harbor elbow and the entire island. The coast is covered with countless heavy artillery. From the harbor, you can see the 7 warlords of the sea, called for standing at the forefront of the central square. Although it made many Marines uncomfortable, but these few people also represented the high-end combat power of the Marine side in this war. Suddenly, the Marine officers who were waiting in battle became a little commotion, looking at the direction they cheered. Admiral, Naval Headquarters 3, under the execution platform, was already sitting in his place. 3. The arrival of Admiral brought the morale of the Marines to the top. After Admiral appeared, Ace, who was being driven, slowly climbed up the execution stage step by step, when Ace appeared on the execution stage. Whether it's Marines, Shichibukai, or people watching the live broadcast from Sabayati Archipelago, they stopped breathing for a few seconds. This is the fuse that triggered the war between Naval Headquarters and the Whitebeard pirates. The captain of Whitebeard's 2nd Division, Fire Fist, Ace. Quote. The change of the world will be determined by his life and death. And Doflamingo under the square looked at Ace and couldn't help but smile and said, hey, it's good to be in the focus of the world, and now his position is the center of the world. It's okay, Garp, I'm going to tell all this. Sengoku, who walked out of the headquarters building, said to Garp beside him. Garp rolled his head in pain. Whatever you do, I'm going down here. You leave first. Sengoku, who walked to the side of Ace, said to the executioner. At the same time, someone was ordered to bring a phone worm. Sengoku stood on the execution platform and said something that would shock the world through the phone worm. The Marines who were present also fell silent, waiting for the marshal's next speech. Portkas d Ace, it is of great significance to this man who died here today. Listening to Sengoku announcing the meaning of his grandson's dying, Garp was in pain, but he still had to suppress his painful mood and stood quietly listening to Sengoku's speech. It's not your fault. He Vice Admiral next to him said softly, ha ha ha, women at this time are really gentle, Crane. Garp pretended to smile easily. In his ears, he could hear a voice that he could no longer be familiar with, but he could no longer hear for Garp. Father, the justice behind him is still too heavy. Sengoku on the stage said. Fire Fist, Ace, report your father's name. Quote. Ace's heart was shaken, he understood something in his heart, but looked up at Sengoku. My father is Whitebeard. Wrong. What's wrong? No one else except Whitebeard. Hearing Ace's hissing denial, Sengoku didn't change his mentality, he just continued. At that time, we opened our eyes and searched desperately, and that man's child might be left on a certain island. We relied on the little information left by CP, and that man showed a different performance from a pirate on a certain island. Quote. We conducted a thorough investigation on all the babies who were just born at that time, and the babies who were about to be born, as well as their mothers, but we never found anything. It's no wonder that your mother was born in exchange for your name. It can also be said that your mother had an ulterior conspiracy. Ace lowered his head and listened to Sengoku's words, not wanting others to see his expression. And Sengoku continued, she deceived our eyes. No, it's the eyes of the world. In South Blue there is an island called Badalila, and your mother's name is Portkas d Rouge. Ace, who didn't show any emotion at all, his expression changed drastically after hearing the name. This woman's actions are far beyond our common sense. Ishin is only for children, and she kept the children in her belly for 20 months. Then I was exhausted after giving birth to you and died on the spot. 1 year and 3 months after the death of his father, the baby who inherited the most evil blood in the world was born. Ace clenched his teeth. Sengoku looked down at Ace. That's you can't not know. Your father is One Piece, Gore D. Roger. And Garp felt as if 2 people beside him were talking to him. Roger. Garp. There is nothing wrong with an unborn child, I will leave it to you. Luo Ye. Father, is the justice behind you really your own justice? Chapter 14. Advertise here. Your father is One Piece, Gore D. Roger. Sengoku said in a magnificent voice the secret that Ace had hidden for many years. As soon as this sentence came out, through the video broadcast connecting the whole world, whether it was marine or pirate, or ordinary people in other places, including the people beside Luo Ye. The whole world is like being pressed the pause button, the whole world has stopped, and everyone's brains are blank. Following this, the world quaked. A huge wave swept through every inch of ocean and land. Fire Fist, Ace turned out to be a descendant of Gore D. Roger. Someone couldn't help but exclaimed. Is this his secret so powerful? What's more, they slumped directly to the ground, their faces full of shock and horror. Are you still alive? One Piece's bloodline. Quick, notify the news headquarters, this is big news. In Windmill Village, East Blue Goya Kingdom, the villagers who grew up with Ace and Luffy brothers grew up. After hearing the news, they were also deeply shocked and apprehensive. The kid Ace. Luffy. Where is Luffy? At the same time, aboard the pirate warship. Nani. What are you talking about? Ace is Captain Roger's son. Buggy looked at Luffy in surprise. Luffy replied in a naive way. Yes, what's the matter? Ivankov. That's incredible. Huh, wait, Straw Hat Boy. Luo Ye looked indifferent. What's so shocking? This is the blood of One Piece. So what? One Piece's blood will definitely become One Piece. One Piece's blood is the most evil. Don't be funny. In my opinion, Roger as a pirate is more pleasing to the eye than certain celestial dragons. Quote. According to the lineage, does Luffy's lineage inherit the marine hero and the most dangerous man in the world? But he wasn't still a pirate. Quote. After speaking, Luo Ye put his hands in his trousers kabuto and left the deck, his cloak wafting with the sea breeze behind him. Bloodliness, world government is as boring as ever. Sengoku waited a few seconds for everyone to respond, and then said with the phone worm. Probably 2 years ago, you started using your mother's name as the captain of the Pirates of Spades group. With outstanding strength and speed, you are galloping across large seas. It's just that we finally noticed. Roger's blood is not cut off. However, Whitebeard, who was aware of this incident at the same time as us, allowed the son of his own level opponent to board his ship in order to cultivate you as the next One Piece. When Ace heard Sengoku say this, he roared, "No. I got on that ship to make Dad the One Piece King." "Only you think so," Sengoku interrupted in a deep voice. "In fact, we can't shoot you at will, because you are protected by Whitebeard. So it is of great significance to take down your first level here today, even if you go to a full-scale war with Whitebeard." At this time, a marine came from the execution stage, sweating and reporting it. "Report the marshal." The gate of justice opened automatically without receiving any instructions. "The power room cannot be contacted." Sengoku's eyes widened in shock. "What did you say?" At this moment, Sengoku turned his head and looked at the shadow that appeared in the sea in the bay. Did the coating come from the sea? Whitebeard. In the bottom of the sea, a pirate ship with the appearance of a huge white whale on the head suddenly rushed out of the deep sea, setting off huge waves and rolling. It was Whitebeard's Moby Dick. A huge pirate ship appeared in the bay and made a huge wave, and it did not stop. 3 of the same ships also rushed up. With a telescope, Marine looked at the many pirates aboard the mobile, and reported all the people who had reached the level of the Whitebeard pirate team leader. The leader of the Whitebeard pirates, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. The huge figure, holding the supreme big knife Kong Yunchi, walked to the bow step by step, looking at the numerous Marines in front of him and the execution platform in the distance. "Wow, la la la, we have been gone for decades, Sengoku." The laughter was as bright as ever, but it was full of unbearable majesty. "Is my dear son okay?" Although he was old and accompanied by various illnesses, Whitebeard still showed Haki, the strongest man in the world. His sense of presence made everyone unable to remove their eyes. Sengoku shed a cold sweat and looked at Whitebeard angrily. "Whitebeard. I didn't expect to be invaded so close by him. Wow, wait for me, Ace." Whitebeard looked lovingly at Ace, who was kneeling on the execution platform. "Papa." Ace raised his head and yelled hard, his eyes full of worries for Papa. Whitebeard put down the naginata, clenched his fists, and then glanced at naval headquarters with contempt, then quickly slammed his fists into the air. There was a collision sound between the air and Whitebeard's fists, and the space hit by Whitebeard produced a crack. The waves in the harbor were twisted by the shock, and slowly twisted and calmed down. Whitebeard, who had done everything, looked up lovingly. With Ace. "Ace, let's save you. We won't let anyone hurt you. XN." All the pirates of the Whitebeard pirate group raised their swords and shouted wildly. The two sides obviously wished to kill each other right away, but at present, both sides restrained themselves and did not start offensive. Until Marine noticed that the water level kept dropping crazily. "It's coming, the sea quake that guy just hit will turn into a tsunami and hit it." Garp yelled. The earthquake man of shock fruit, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. 2 huge tsunamis swept from both sides of naval headquarters Katakana middle dot, and the overwhelming momentum made many Marines present tremble with fear. Yeah. Admiral Iokiji jumped Chi Alley directly from his position, 2 icicles deep in his hands connected to the tsunami. Ice Age. The tsunami was instantly blocked by ice, and the turbulent sea was instantly solidified and turned into a thick layer of ice, as hard as the earth. "Admiral, the most powerful naval headquarters, is here. The battle between the two sides is about to start." Chapter 15. Advertise here. A moment ago, it was right in front of the gate of justice. When Luo Ye was about to draw his sword and cut open the gate of justice. For some reason, the door of justice suddenly opened wide. Seeing this, Luo Ye had to put the knife away and threw it under his feet. Jinbei steered the boat and quickly passed the gate of justice. Towards naval headquarters, Marineford moved quickly. Luo Ye stood in front of the boat and looked at the scenery of the sky, watching the dark clouds in the sky darkening rapidly. Luo Ye concentrated, his eyes suddenly turned red. Many sceneries flashed quickly in Luo Ye's eyes. Luo Ye, who had inserted Kabuto and stood in front of the boat, slowly walked to a place to rely on, and then shouted to everyone in Luffy, "You have to hold on to the boat, and be careful not to be thrown off." Oh, XN. Luffy, Ivankov, Jinbei and others honestly looked for a place to seize. Even Crocodile, who has been silent and in action, obeyed Luo Ye's words. "Huh, why do I, Lord Buggy, listen to you?" Buggy pointed at Luo Ye with split hands and feet. Luo Ye smiled and looked at Buggy, leaning back on the wooden board. Don't move, Red Nose. You thought I would. Ah, help." When Buggy wanted to say something more, a sudden storm drove the boat madly back, and the centrifugal force generated by the excessive speed directly threw Buggy out and stuck it on the fort in front of the hull. Everyone stubbornly grabbed the guardrail or pillar in front of them to keep them from being thrown down. After Luo Ye got used to it a little bit, he walked slowly to Buggy. It seems that the driving force behind it does not exist for Luo Ye. Seeing Buggy being squeezed on the fort, Luo Ye inserted Kabuto and looked at him. "How is it, Red Nose, is it comfortable?" Buggy looked at the man standing in front of him, wearing a black suit and a black cloak. In such a backward storm, only the black mid-length hair and black cloak fluttered in the wind, and he was not affected at all, even with Kabuto in his hands and looking at himself grinningly. "Want to be rescued by me, Red Nose?" Luo Ye asked Buggy, who was in pain. "Who is going to be saved by you?" "I'm Buggy Songma." Really, but the fort is going to be broken. If you break it, you will fall into the sea. The capable will be drowned in the sea, right? If you don't believe me, listen, click. Ah, I'm not dead. Save me. Buggy was scared and shouted directly like Luo Ye. I will save you now. Luo Ye stretched out his hand to Buggy and looked at Luo Ye's stretched hand. Buggy sighed inwardly. Luo Ye, you guys are still a good person. I, Buggy, will not care about beating me when I was younger. Luo Ye caught it. Muramaru, who was also stuck on the fort next to Buggy. It's a great knife at any rate, but it can't be just like that. Luo Ye looked at the Kun Yuan in his hand, and the Buggy beside him turned gray. This bastard lied to my feelings. After the storm stopped, Luo Ye caught Buggy, who was about to fall, and said, "Just kidding. Haha, bang." Then imitated the sound of the fort breaking. Then he swiftly came to the side of Jinbei, who was at the helm, and said, "But it's so far back, and I feel like I'm almost back to the gate of justice." Jinbei seemed to be thinking about what the person responded. Yes. Nani. Jinbei. Uncle, we want to go to Ace quickly. Luffy hurriedly grabbed Jinbei's clothes and shouted at Jinbei and Luo Ye. After a few scenes flashed through Luo Ye's mind again, he said to Luffy, "Don't worry, Luffy, it will be here soon." Really? Uncle, Jinbei, is uncle right? Ah, don't worry, Luffy-kun, it will be here soon. Jinbei looked at the distance and calmly said to Luffy. Ah, how can you be sure that you will be there soon? Obviously pushed so far by the waves. What do you rely on? Is your mermaid karate, or are you going to call your shark buddies? Okay. Quote. Buggy immediately jumped out to face Jinbei's yin and yang weirdness. As for Luo Ye, he dare not. Then, Luo Ye, who felt noisy to his ears, chopped them into pieces. No, Buggy, it's going to be over this time. Mr. Point 3 yelled to Buggy. Ah, what's wrong? F***K. What is this? Buggy, who recovered, looked back and wanted to ask Mr. Point 3 questions but saw a huge tsunami. After Luo Ye saw the tsunami, he shouted directly to Jinbei, "Come in." The old man thinks so too. Jinbei nodded when he heard Luo Ye's words and replied. Oh, are people real? XN. Buggy, everyone actually looked at Luo Ye. The warship rushed towards the tsunami, and under Jinbei's control, the warship went straight up to the surging tsunami. No, I'm going to die. XN. The Buggy crowd hugged each other and shouted. Luo Ye looked at Jinbei, who was struggling with curiosity, and asked. How about it? Can you make it up successfully? If it doesn't work, I will just split the tsunami away. Don't underestimate the old man. Under Jinbei's skillful steering skills, the warship successfully passed through the tsunami and boarded the tsunami. Seeing the warship at his feet advancing fast in the tsunami, Luffy shouted excitedly. Ace, I'm here to save you. Luo Ye was standing on the bow of the ship with the village Amamaru, and the cloak behind him was fluttering with the wind. Observation Haki could clearly perceive the Marine and Whitebeard pirates on the battlefield ahead. Oh, there is no scene more suitable for my debut than here. On top of the war, Luo Ye is here. Chapter 16. Advertise here. Ice Age. Aokiji easily froze the two huge tsunamis, and the morale of Marine's side instantly reached its peak. We have Admiral with the strongest naval headquarters. We won't lose to Whitebeard. Aokiji Admiral. In midair, Aokiji looked down from a high ground, looking at each other with Whitebeard on the boat. Aokiji kid. Whitebeard looked at Aokiji indifferently and smiled. Two thorn spears. After the freezing tsunami, Aokiji made several ice spears and shot them at Whitebeard. And Whitebeard didn't care about the ice spear at all. He clenched his fist and slammed it in the direction of Aokiji. The atmosphere again cracked and shattered Aokiji's two thorny spears. The power of shock fruit continued in the air and attacked Aokiji. Aokiji naturalized himself before the attack was reached. Whitebeard's attack only shattered some ice cubes and did not cause any damage to Kuzan. After receiving Whitebeard's attack, Aokiji fell to the surface of the sea, but Frozen Fruit's ability was activated and all the seawater in the bay was frozen to ice, and the movement of all pirate ships in the bay was restricted. Did the sea freeze in an instant? As expected, it is Aokiji, but it also provides us with a good battlefield. Little ones, go, save Ace. The captains of the Whitebeard pirate group led the crew to jump off the boat and sprint towards Marine. Don't be afraid, kill all these pirates. The Marine generals also led the Marine soldiers to rush towards each other. Soon, Marine and the pirates started a chaotic battle. Guns, cannons, knives, swords, and various devil fruit abilities collided on the battlefield. The sea was frozen, the Whitebeard side of the bay could not move, and the Marine side of course could not move either. As a result, the pirates who belonged to the large fleet behind the beard all fired artillery fire on Marine's warships. The frozen sea is so convenient. Then you can kill them all. Attack the bay. Boom boom boom. The pirates fired shells towards the warship, but before the shells fell, the shells were neatly divided into two in the air. Some Marines wearing Vice Admiral cloaks fell in front of the warship. Damn it, it doesn't seem to be that easy. Vice Admiral from Naval Headquarters is here. Ha ha ha, I have never seen so many Vice Admiral together, ha ha ha. With so many Vice Admiral, even Buster Call troops will turn blue in fright when they hear it, but it's a different matter if the opponent is Daddy and us. The pirates looked at the vice admiral and laughed, without a trace of fear. This is also a matter of course. Most of them have already put their lives out of control when they become pirates, whether it is their own or others. Marine is also talking internally. Mr. Crane, you can go back first. Let us clean up here. Go to the back and have tea slowly. Marine Vice Admiral spoke slowly to the Crane Vice Admiral. Crane said, don't be handsome, stinky brats, even if I retreat to the end of the sea, there will be a safe place, and I always feel that something unexpected will happen today. Nani, really? Granny Crane. Crane raised his head to look at the sky, but the anxiety in his heart became stronger and stronger. I always have a hunch that there will be some unexpected surprises today. Standing next to Crane, Momosuke Vice Admiral listened to Crane's words, and a figure in a red cloak of justice emerged in his heart. If you are still in Marine, you have already become Admiral, and today's things will become easier in your hands. Momosuke thought of it silently. At this time, the large fleet behind the pirates had also leaned the ship against the hard ice, and the pirates who heard the captain's order were all crazy and rushed towards the Marine base. Hawkeye also stepped out of Shichibukai's team and attracted the attention of the Empress and Brother Ming. Akainu and Kizaru, who were sitting on the execution platform, also noticed. Oh, that Hawkeye who does his own thing wants to fight. Brother Ming hummed at the eagle eye next to him and asked, what's the matter? Do you want to go to the war? Hawkeye stared sharply at Whitebeard, and said in a serious tone, I just want to try, how far is the man in front of us? Empress Hancock looked at Hawkeye's eyes and thought. Worthy of being a man called an eagle eye, he can't move with fear just by seeing his eyes. The captain of Whitebeard's 5th Division, Foil, Beasta, looked at Hawkeye with enthusiasm. I have long wanted to meet him. As long as he is a swordsman, he will think that he is the strongest man, and he has long wanted to fight him once. This is the instinct of the so-called swordsman. Hawkeye slowly pulled out his black knife. Smoker looked at the black knife and asked, is that the legendary black knife? Tashigi on the side replied, to be precise, Black Knife Yi, one of the only 12 supreme swords in the world, a weapon that can only be worn by the strongest swordsman in the world. Hawkeye, who drew out his black knife, swung a slash with one hand, and the ice was destroyed by this powerful slash. The green slash was hundreds of meters long and slashed towards Whitebeard. Chapter 17. Advertise here. Flat A. It's really just flat A. A common attack that didn't even mention the trick. Whitebeard stared at the oncoming slash without changing his face, his stature remained motionless. The pirate soldiers below were not so strong and courageous, they fled in all directions when they saw the slash attack. But there were still many people who were hit by the eagle eye slash, or the aftermath of the slash spread, and issued a tragic cry. Just as the slash was about to spread to the Moby Dick, a strong figure rushed towards the slash, blocking the slash. There were no fancy special effects, only the people who came to meet the slashing boredom. The sound of drinking and the clicking sound of the foot scratching the ice. In the end, the man strenuously threw the slash to the sky, and a huge whirlwind was set off in space. The dust receded, revealing a diamond body, reflecting the sunlight shining brightly. That's Diamond Joes, the captain of Whitebeard's 3rd Division. Quote. The eagle eye in the square watched his slashing being blocked by Joes, and then slowly put the sword into the scabbard on his back without saying a word, and suddenly Eagle Eye raised his head and looked at the sky. The characters present with strong perceptions all raised their heads and looked into the sky. In their perceptions of perceptions, a monster, with an unmatched hockey swiftly attacked from the sky. A pitch-black shooting star instantly slammed into the sea in the bay from the air while everyone was watching. Bump. Dense cracks of tens of meters long appeared on the ice. Conqueror's hockey quickly swept across the battlefield as horror as it was, causing everyone present to lose consciousness for a moment. The ice surface swept by Conquerors. There were cracks. Soon afterwards, the Conqueror's hockey suddenly disappeared as if it had never appeared. But everyone on the scene stopped their hands and all looked at the figure in the smoke. The black cloak fluttered with the wind, and the blood-red word justice fluttered with the cloak on the cloak. The black suit that looked like a work of art, lined with this black shirt, perfectly set off the cold but seductive face of the black-haired young man, standing on top of the focus of the current world with a sword in his hand. Marine looked at the man in front of him, looked at him in a dark suit, and thought, "Is this a pirate?" The pirate side looked at the man's back, looked at the blood-red justice word on his black cloak that was fluttering in the wind, and thought, "Is this the sea the army?" The big figures on the scene looked at the scene and their brains constantly reminded the monsters that existed in their horror, and the complexity of their mental activities was difficult to interpret. Marine sighed. Kizaru widened his wretched eyes and said, "Hey, isn't it? It's terrible. How could this man appear here? Shouldn't he be sleeping on the hidden 7th floor of Impel Down?" Akainu's hands showed fierce flames and looked angrily at Luo Ye in the field. That bastard Luo Ye. Even if I escape Impel Down, I dare to appear here shamelessly. Aokiji, who was still in the bay, looked at Luo Ye who was less than 100 meters away, but also sweated. Allah, it's bad now. A bad person has appeared. The Marines not far from Aokiji had doubts when they heard Aokiji's words. Who is this guy? A lieutenant colonel asked the colonel next to him. Why do admirals' faces become so ugly? Sengoku, standing next to Ace, gritted his teeth and said words that surprised Ace. Damn it, it's Garp's family again, but why are you here? Suddenly, Ace raised his head to look towards Luo Ye, his eyes widened. The old man's family. Why haven't I met? Crane also widened his eyes. Ah, tired of teeth, now things are completely out of plan. Big things are going to happen. Gion, you are also ready to take action. Get rid of the pirate first. If the kid Luo Ye helps the pirate, the scale of victory will be overwhelmed by the pirate in an instant, Gion. However, what I didn't expect was that Momosuke Gion next to him was just holding his face with his hands and watching Luo Ye fascinated by Nympho. Ah, Luo Ye-kun, I knew you must be alive, I miss you so much, you have become so handsome, and it is what I imagined in my dream. As for Luo Ye's father, Garp has grown his mouth and his eyes are about to fall out. I was both happy and angry. I was happy about my son and Impel down from being imprisoned. Why did I come to naval headquarters when the angry thing came out? Luo Ye, why are you here? Garp couldn't help shouting loudly. Who is Luo Ye? The Marines who heard Garp shouted had question marks on their faces. Luo Ye, Smoker seemed to have thought of something. Smoker-san, do you know who that man is? Huh, I've only heard Aokiji mumble when he was drunk. If he is the one in the rumor, this war is really bad. Tashigi looked at the man smoking a cigar in front of him, and noticed that his right hand holding 10 hands was trembling. Pirate party. Wow, this is really a long time no see, but is your presence here a good thing or a bad thing? Whitebeard looked at Luo Ye with a tangled look and smiled. Marco flew to Whitebeard's side and said nervously, Daddy, it's a bit of a bad thing for Luo Ye as a bastard to appear here. If he changes hands to help Marine, we can't stand it. Wow, this is really nerve-wracking. The pirates who heard the conversation between Whitebeard and Marco couldn't help but ask. Father, Marco, do you know who that guy is? When Whitebeard heard the question, he did not return, but Marco returned. Ah, how do you say? This guy. T. You only need to know that this guy is very strong and is not weaker than the 4 emperors, monster, and it's over. Hey, don't act rashly now. Quote. Characters of the 4 emperors, level, Exen. Why have I never heard of it in New World? Anyway, he's a terrific guy, why does he appear here? Want to help Marine. Damn it. The pirates kept communicating, but their feet had to step back 2 steps to the back and stay away from Luo Ye. Listening to the words below, Whitebeard couldn't help squeezing the hilt of the knife in his hand. Is it a monster of the 4 emperors, level? Marco, you still underestimated him. Diamond Joes, who was knocked back by Luo Ye's descending momentum, looked at Luo Ye in front of him and trembled and said, Hey, this is. Too bad, hey. You all stepped back. Joes looked at the pirates near Luo Ye and shouted. Not only on Jaws' side, the captain of the 1st 5th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates team kept the pirates away from Luo Ye. On Marine's side, Sengoku had to take out the phone worm and gave Marine an instruction to stay away from Luo Ye. On the square, Hancock, who was surrounded by a python, looked at Luo Ye in the distance. It's a terrible man to have such a strong sense of oppression even so far away, but I haven't heard of this person's name at all. Luo Ye, title. Brother Doflamming couldn't laugh anymore, and muttered softly, Luo Ye. Is it the person who was rumored 20 years ago? If so, really? The eagle eye standing in the front Mahawk smiled with interest. I feel the excitement of being a warrior, a powerful presence, and Muramaru, one of the supreme sharp knives in his hand. Haha, I am really excited. Luo Ye looked at the surrounding Marines and pirates with themselves as the center point, without splitting void out of the circle. Hey, is it so cold? I like the excitement. Chapter 18. Advertise here. Do not be so boring. Ah, you're not pirates. Yes, pirates, then it liken me. Ah. Luo Ye turned to look at the pirate's side, eager mouth ultimate provoked a mocking arc. Do not go. Behind Jors as immediately shouted loudly toward minions were. Jors hear words, the pirate suppressed his feelings of anger, but there is no rush to go. I had stopped looking at the hands of both the battlefield, Luo Ye single hand with a knife, the other a hand in Kabuto was thinking about when the next should be how to do. Luo Ye, what you want to do is to naval headquarters. Sengoku sound amplification by phone worm toward Luo Ye questions. Nothing. Ah, Uncle Sengoku, but just woke up, and then I hit it great nephew Luffy. Then Luffy asked my rescue his brother, nephew so silly, that I do not trust his uncles really a people, ah, ask parents for a lovely nephew's no reason to refuse it. Luo Ye grinning talking, obviously sounds small but precise passed in the presence of all ears. Daddy, hear the words of Luo Ye, Marco quickly looked toward Whitebeard. Wow lala, Straw Hat Luffy, that it seems to Garp grandson of it, I remember Ace always say what his brother does. Whitebeard it is loud laughs. On it, his sons, the Ace rush back. Marco, you always pay attention to Luo Ye, maybe treacherous Sengoku cannot say. Whitebeard loudly toward the pirates gave the order, turned his head and whispered against Marco asked Road. Oh, the Ace robbing, XN. Crashed, the pirates again over the Luo Ye toward Taiwan assault sentence away. They blocked up, shelling forces, aimed at enemy ships and subsequent pirates began shelling. Vice Admiral more attention to block Luo Ye. Aokiji. Sengoku has loudly issued the order over the phone worm. On XN. Damn it, do not let these pirates approaching sentence Taiwan. Touch. Boom. XN. War started again. After so much noise, just a temporary stop to the war. Luo Ye flu just started as stronger than war. Luo Ye, watching the battlefield, could not help but nodded his head. For it makes you feel. But what the attack is not a good habit. Oh, Kuzan. Bump. Luo Ye pull out the rain village block, the pill beside handheld skate Aokiji, the two played against aftermath, blown away everyone within 10 meters. Tut. Why do you want to participate in this war? Luo Ye. Aokiji armed with ice skates, with Luo Ye village rain cut each pill with each other but secretly want the ability to mobilize frozen Luo Ye body. Watching loudly against his questioning Aokiji, and his sneaky action, Luo Ye quickened her pace. Sword brought airflow, blown away Aokiji chill, changed hands, a sword cut it to skate Aokiji. She replied. Really cool. Kuzan, we are not good friends it. So little reunion tone nor Ice. Storm pheasant mouth. Night. / wave. A huge ice birds facing Kuzan issued. Luo Ye Jianqi easily hit the ice a few kilometers of the bird's chop. Jianqi continued to fly forward, cut off a tsunami frozen before Kuzan. Alas. Good strong. Tashigi noticed by the Luo Ye Jianqi is cut out after exclaimed. Aokiji, even he could not reach it. Smoker is pay attention to your friends. Good strong. Graham, then watching the huge tsunami were cut off in the square, is it should be said, indeed Luffy family. Interesting. Even have such a sword. Eagle Eye is watching, Luo Ye said excitedly, his eyes a touch of quiet green light fleeting. Oh, fortunately, not Luffy that they're in. Luo Ye looked to be cut off in their own tsunami. Think above Luffy, who are still frozen, not the same after seeing, relaxing breath. What are you looking at? Luo Ye iceberg flow. After seeing Luo Ye attention, Kuzan directly with one hand touching the ground, a huge thorn ice began to appear more and more, before the arrival of Luo Ye when the body has been like a huge mountain. Oh, become a lot stronger Kuzan. Luo Ye stooped that take the sword, about to hit an iceberg at the moment of the body, scabbard. Luo Ye appeared in Aokiji behind the knife scabbard income noise sounded. Dang. Black mountain icebergs directly attached Aokiji's body was cut in half. Why hide later? Luo Ye looked into the ice in front of Aokiji, he restored in the distance look like itself. Allah you, did not it? Aokiji wiping his mouth with blood, his clothes, there have been a knife marks. Ice Age. Night. Flurry. The air carries huge ice cubes made with numerous Jianqi hit together make up the river, surrounded by glaciers form directly terror scene. Wow. Quick stay away. Help. Countless pirates fight around the aftermath of the two men involved, directly frozen into icicles, then cut numerous small pieces of nuggets. Awful do. Kuzan actually caught under the wind. Kazaru airflow constantly being watched, ice Jianqi pushed back. Could be so simple, fall under the wind. Kuzan this guy, but Luo Ye bastard, no food should not be provided to him in prison it only basis so that the energy he was alive, how could he still be so powerful? Akainu Luo Ye looked relaxed, suppress a look of Kuzan serious and indignation. Is struggling to support Kuzan has been a breakthrough Jianqi cold to hit. Although elements of the timely, but the output power is suppressed even worse. I said it, you start with a good friend is also facing heavy asshole Luo Ye. Chapter 19. Advertise here. Seeing Aokiji falling into the wind, Kazaru sighed faintly, then slowly stood up from his seat and began to stretch his waist. You can't be injured by Luo Ye and Kuzan as soon as the battle started. Although it's terrible, let's go. As soon as the voice fell, Kazaru's body had turned into a little light and disappeared on the seat, and Akainu, who was still sitting in the seat, kept wandering between Whitebeard and Luo Ye. Suddenly a huge light appeared in front of Luo Ye, who was constantly waving his sword aura. It's really dazzling. Luo Ye closed his eyes and said leisurely. Bakichanguyu. Kazaru appeared on Luo Ye's top score, pinching the orchid finger, and then released his stroke to Luo Ye with his eyes closed. No matter how many times you look at it, your posture is really wretched. Pelusilino. Luo Ye opened his eyes, and the moment he opened his eyes again, a red thunder flashed, and his eyes turned red. Ba Yi instant fall. Luo Ye disappeared directly in place. Sky Cloud Sword. Kazaru directly drew a lightsaber in front of him. Bump. The Sky Cloud Sword intersects the Muramaru who entangled conquerors and armament hockey. Luo Ye slashed it down, and a black-red slashing ball with a golden light smashed into the wall of the naval headquarters building. Kazaru Admiral. A ray of light appeared in front of the Marines. Kazaru looked at Luo Ye who was pressing Aokiji again and started a chaos, and said, it looks like. I am not an opponent. It's terrible. Aokiji finally changed his breath, and was bullied by Luo Ye to hack. Aokiji could only continuously create ice skates to resist Muramaru, who was entwined with top-armed colors. Hey, Kuzan. What's going on? Suddenly I feel weak. Luo Ye asked Aokiji cordially while speeding up his sword swing. Huh. You say something. You ice man. Quote. Kuzan suffered from Luo Ye's accelerated slashing, and could only concentrate on making ice skates faster to withstand Luo Ye's slashing. This bastard is still so annoying. I'll help you, Kuzan. White snake. Smoker elementalized rushed over and used a trick on Luo Ye. Stop it, Smoker. You are so courageous. This was what Smoker heard before being kicked and hit by Luo Ye, and then a sharp pain came from his abdomen. Puff. A mass of scarlet blood burst in midair. Smoker-san. Aokiji watched Smoker being turned and kicked by Luo Ye and kicked Smoker who was attacking him, and Tashigi, who was chasing Smoker, chased in the direction where Smoker flew. Ice Age Pheasant Cone. Aokiji furiously sent out a huge ice bird to Luo Ye. Huge icebergs formed directly where the ice bird passed, and Luo Ye kept pushing Luo Ye back with the beak against the Muramaru. Hey, are you angry? Kuzan. Feeling the power brought by the ice bird in front of him, Luo Ye held Muramaru's hand slightly harder, and the dark knife began to be filled with red thunder. Night/wave. The huge black and red slash appeared again, splitting the ice bird in two. The knife was retracted into its sheath, and the iceberg brought by the ice bird was cut open. Bump. Seeing Aokiji holding ice knives in front of him to block his attack, Luo Ye raised his mouth slightly. Ale, actually blocked my place. Have you exploded, Kuzan? You were too much this time. Luo Ye. Anyway, you are also the former Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Aokiji squeezed the ice skates against Luo Ye with both hands. On the other hand, Luo Ye easily blocked Aokiji's attack with one hand with his right hand. I know, so I just taught that guy a little lesson. Don't rely on being Logia, thinking that you can do whatever you want. The difference in strength still needs to be seen clearly. Damn it, Kuzan, didn't you realize that I kicked him in the direction of Marine? I was going to kill him. I could just cut him in half. Luo Ye, can't you? Aokiji looked at Luo Ye in front of him when he wanted to say something. This time I'm here to save my elder nephew Ace. /wave. Aokiji was knocked into the air by a sudden slash. Whitebeard has been watching since Luo Ye and Aokiji fought. Father, this kind of power and swordsmanship should be his own undoubtedly. Marco next to him also watched the battle. Gu la la la. Originally it was quite difficult to rescue Ace, plus Luo Ye, the little devil's words, the chance of success should have increased a lot, mu la la la. Whitebeard laughed heartily. Little ones, don't let Luo Ye, a kid, steal all the limelight. It was our Whitebeard pirates who rescued Ace. Whitebeard shouted to the pirates. Oh, XN. Look at us, Daddy. Yes, Ace has to come out by us. Come on, rush into the square. After noticing that Luo Ye almost crushed Aokiji and defeated Aokiji, the morale of the crew of the Whitebeard pirate group was soaring and they charged towards the square one after another. And Sengoku, who was standing on the execution platform, looked at this, and Sengoku gritted his teeth with anger. Gar, this bastard, what kind of rebellious child has given birth to? Chapter 20. Advertise here. Facing the questioning roar from his old friend Sengoku, Garp reluctantly raised his hand and buttoned his earwax, pretending that he hadn't heard him. Kachacha. Sengoku's teeth rattled, his face cramped, and he was very upset. Bump. There was a loud noise again. Sengoku didn't have time to question, his eyes condensed, and he immediately looked in the direction of the loud noise. I saw that the wall just broken by Kizaru was destroyed by Aokiji again. For a time, the clods flew, the rubble was everywhere, and countless dust filled them, blocking everyone's sight. Alala, Luo Ye, this bastard really doesn't keep his hands, it hurts. Composed of ice cubes, Aokiji touched his head for a while and sighed. Sengoku watched his headquarters being destroyed by two members of Marine Admiral who were his own, and his face was twitching. Seeing Luo Ye who kept kicking Marine back to the square in the battlefield, the anger in his heart could no longer be restrained, and he blamed Garp under the execution platform on the left. Garp, you bastard gave birth to a bastard son. Tenten didn't do anything good. After finally coming out, he ended up on the pirate's side. Garp. Garp really couldn't hide, so helpless, he had to look at Luo Ye on the battlefield with a gloomy face. When Luo Ye was about to kick a Marine Rear Admiral back into the square, he felt a familiar sight. He looked up and found that it was Garp's sight, and showed Garp with the classic smile of Monkey's family. Hi, father, it's been a long time since I saw you. Luo Ye, brat, what do you want the old man to do? Garp gritted his teeth and whispered. Kizaru slowly walked back to the execution stage, and sat down in his position again. This wave of magical operations made Akainu stunned. Porsarino, what are you doing back? Keep wow. Inside. Luo Ye, the old man hitting hurts so much, come back and take a rest. Kizaru responded to Akainu's question unhurriedly. To deal with evil, how can you rest and get angry? Akainu angrily said at Kizaru. Then you go. Sakazuki, the old man was really cut. Damn it. Good guy, what you said is nothing wrong with it, you deserve to be a fisherman. Akainu was speechless by Kizaru. Base. Luo Ye slowly put the knife into the scabbard, holding the knife in one hand and Kabuto in the other, walking towards the execution table slowly. The Marines that attacked were all kicked out by Luo Ye. The incompetent kicked farther, kicked out of the island and fell into the sea, and the capable kicked to the square. Luo Ye is the easiest freehand in the entire battlefield. Ice cube freeze time. Jung. Luo Ye drew the knife out of the sheath to block the hands of Aokiji who struck again, and asked speechlessly. Why come again? Kuzan. Haven't been beaten enough yet. Aokiji's hands turned into ice and smashed onto Luo Ye's hockey-filled knife. Aokiji's constant chill was completely blocked by the armed color emission of the knife. Alala, you can't let you stray in the battlefield at will. Luo Ye. Luo Ye wielded the knife at will. The knife and Aokiji turned into various ice weapons to generate sparks when they intersected. Every time they fought, a huge wave of air would spread to the surroundings. Chaos. I have a plan. Don't slander me at will. Luo Ye strengthened his strength as if receiving an insult. Alara, you don't see any plans for what happened back then. Ah, that's dangerous. Do you want to kill me? You bastard. While Aokiji was complaining about Luo Ye turned his hand over the blade and slashed towards Aokiji's neck. Aokiji hurriedly became elemental and avoided, but there was still a trace of blood on his neck. What happened back then? I was very planned. Luo Ye carried the red and black thunder with a knife in both hands and slashed towards Aokiji forcefully. Ah, you went up and killed everyone in the boat. Where is the plan? Can't you quietly kill them? Bastard Luo Ye. On the other hand, Aokiji gathered the strongest cold air in his hands, forming a miniature space, and took it to Luo Ye's knife full of hockey. In an instant, a huge storm occurred in the space where two people were fighting. Full of black and red thunder and white cold current. The ice surface within 100 meters broke and shattered directly. But because of the cold of Aokiji, the sea was frozen again. The airflow between the two people directly broke out on the entire battlefield, and the weaker existence was blown away directly. Whitebeard was blown by the storm, and the whole person was still standing there. Only the flapping cloak behind him can demonstrate the power of the storm. La la la, really young kids. The storm hit the square, and Kizaru and Akainu under Shintai had to block the airflow to prevent the execution platform from being destroyed. Really? Two people are strong, really monsters. Kizaru raised his hands and looked at the center of the storm. Humph. Marine generals also looked at the center of the storm and sighed constantly. This guy in black clothes is so strong, it's on par with Aokiji Admiral. Don't talk nonsense. Aokiji Admiral will definitely win. Smoker-san, are you okay? Tashigi finally rescued Smoker who was buried in the naval headquarters building. Cough, cough, ah, it's okay. Smoker covered the scar on his stomach and looked at the storm on the battlefield in the distance. Are these two still fighting? No, Aokiji Admiral has been cut and flew out just now. Nani? Smoker looked at Tashigi who was telling the truth in surprise. Sabayati Archipelago, the people who are watching the live broadcast, are surprised by the top combat power in the world watching this war. It's horrible. It's like the end of the world. The man in the black suit is as good as Admiral, so strong. In Luo's corner, an old man with white hair and glasses watched the live broadcast while drinking silently. After seeing Luo Ye fighting Aokiji, the corner of his mouth smiled slightly. Since you are all out, it seems that the captain's blood can be protected this time, Luo Ye. Chapter 21. Advertise here. Ah, in the frantically raging storm, Aokiji who was confronting Luo Ye shouted, the miniature cold air space condensed in his hands was constantly approaching Luo Ye, gradually compressing the space between the two. Aha! Can you increase output by shouting? Kuzan, this is a good trick, what's the name? Luo Ye still kept his strength and laughed at Aokiji. You guy, haven't I caught up with you for 20 years? This is a trick I developed based on your trick, called, Ice Age Splitting Void, let me take the trick. Ah. Not bad, I'll show some strength to treat you seriously. Luo Ye's eyes flashed with black and red thunder. The actual Conqueror's haki gathered around his body. With his right foot stepped forward, all Conqueror's haki was concentrated in the knife, and the body of the knife, which had been dyed black by the armed color, was dyed red again. The light of thunder kept circulating on the knife. Killing God break. Luo Ye cut through Aokiji with a knife in both hands, and Aokiji, including the space behind him, was cut away by this knife. The cut space began to slip slowly, and after a second, the separated space instantly healed, and the huge force generated by the separation and overlap of the space broke the storm that the two played against. There was also a deep wound on Aokiji's chest, even though Aokiji had instantly used armed color to defend. But how can armament haki resist the tearing feeling brought about by space? If you are injured, go back to the back and have a good rest. Kuzan. Luo Ye looked at Kuzan who was already trembling in front of him, and directly raised his leg and kicked Kuzan towards the naval headquarters building. Smoker-san, be careful. Tashigi yelled to Smoker, who looked down at the injury. Nani. Bump. Smoker was smashed into the naval headquarters building by the flying Kuzan again. Boom. There was a loud noise and the dust rolled, and countless Marines were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. My god, Aokiji Admiral was kicked again. Impossible, how could Admiral lose? Who is this terrifying man? Luo Ye stared intently, nodded when he saw Aokiji being caught, and couldn't help sighing. The Kuzan guy still has many friends, all of whom use their bodies as pads to catch him. Puff. Smoker, who was accidentally shot, spit out a mouthful of old blood. Goo. Luo Ye listened to the sound coming from his stomach and touched his stomach. It seems that I haven't eaten much since I came out. The pill of the system just helped me restore the shrinkage of my muscles and the required energy. Blame Kuzan's bastard, it made me use a little bit more strength, and I'm so hungry, where can I eat? Luo Ye stood in the center of the battlefield, watching around like no one until he stared at Whitebeard's ship. On such a big ship, there are many people in the Whitebeard pirates, and there should be a lot of food. After wiping the tears from the indisputable airflow, Luo Ye swished, like a hurricane, and rushed directly toward Whitebeard's boat. After seeing Luo Ye's actions, many people were alarmed. Luo Ye, is it still towards Marine? Hey, that black bastard rushed to Whitebeard, what does he want to do? I just hit Admiral, are you going to challenge the strongest man in the world this time? Protect Daddy. Marco also flashed directly in front of Whitebeard, a blue phoenix flame burst out of his body, watching Luo Ye who was about to rush over and shouted angrily, Luo Ye. You bastard, what do you want to do, wow. Quote. Marco, who hadn't finished speaking, was directly pulled away by Luo Ye's right hand. Seeing Luo Ye who had reached in front of him, Whitebeard was also ready to fight, holding Kong Yunchi in both hands. Luo Ye kid, want to talk to me? Huh. Seeing Luo Ye passing by, Whitebeard also tilted his head with a question mark on his face. After a while, Luo Ye, holding a huge package, appeared on the ground beside Whitebeard and sat down. With a crash, after opening the package on the ground, it was full of food and drinks. Wow, it looks so delicious, ah. Seeing Luo Ye eating a big mouthful of meat, Whitebeard couldn't help but exude a knowing smile. Goo la 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 la, Luo Ye kid, did you rush over for food? Ah, what do you know? Ah, I have been imprisoned for 20 years, ah, not for 20 years, ah, I have eaten, ah. 20 years. That's true. It's been 20 years since I saw you last time. Wow, la la la, time is not forgiving. Seeing Whitebeard next to him showing a look of reminiscence, Luo Ye asked as he quickly stuffed something in his mouth. Does a character like you still sigh that time is merciless? He has been in the world for so many years. Ah. Wow, no matter what, I am also a person with only one heart. No matter how strong it is, it cannot withstand the passing of time. If I am now 20 years younger, why should I stand here? Quote. Luo Ye ate the food and listened to Whitebeard's sigh. He couldn't help but think of the terrifying power of Whitebeard 20 years ago, and the speed of stuffing food in his hand accelerated even more. Marco looked at Luo Ye's belly curiously. No matter how much Luo Ye ate, Luo Ye's belly did not change at all. When Marco saw this scene, he couldn't help but murmur. What a monster. Chapter 22. Advertise here. Hey, I'm not interested in men, what are you always staring at me, Marco? Ah. You guy, you really are a monster. After eating so many things, his stomach doesn't even bulge. Marco raised his eyebrows. Luo Ye swallowed the meat in his mouth, picked up a bottle of wine and gulped it off. Well, Marine's profundity is nothing more than a big deal. Gum la la la, life return is not as exaggerated as you, Luo Ye boy, but everyone has everyone's secret. Whitebeard looked at Luo Ye and said. When Sengoku watched Luo Ye stop moving and ran to the Whitebeard ship, he was relieved, and he predicted the direction of development after this war. Everyone. Kneeling, Ace looked at his desperate companions on the battlefield, tears constantly rolling in his eyes. It's obviously my fault, it's obviously me. Really? Kizaru looked at both sides of the needle to the maiming and stood up from his position again. Why, are you going to go on again? Didn't you get chopped? Akainu said leisurely beside him. No way, it's not time to check in and get off work today, and you're not going to get off work either. Kizaru answered directly. Akainu's mouth twitched. Kizaru put his hands in his pockets, his wretched face was full of carelessness, but he spoke with unprecedented caution. But it's worthy of being the captains of the Whitebeard pirates, one by one as strong as a monster. If you want to minimize the loss, you can only catch the thief first. After hearing what he said, Akainu quickly stopped and said, wait. Luo Ye is still with Whitebeard. Unfortunately, before Akainu's words were finished, Kizaru disappeared from the execution platform in countless light spots. Isn't this guy acting me? Akainu frowned, and the boss was unhappy. In the next second, a huge light appeared on the mobile. Luo Ye closed his eyes and still ate the meat in his hands. Whitebeard squinted his eyes. Hey, hello, how come you are so dazzling? Kizaru appeared on top of the mobile, and squeezed out orchid fingers with both hands against Whitebeard in the air. Bakichang Guyu. Countless spots of light shot from Kizaru's hand toward Whitebeard and Luo Ye. On the path where Kizaru attacked Whitebeard, a pair of wings with blue flames rushed from the side, blocking Kizaru's attack on Whitebeard. As for the light spot attacking Luo Ye drew his knife and slashed to offset it. How can I disturb us as soon as you come? Hey, help me block anyway, Marco, really, didn't you see me eating? Luo Ye's complaint interrupted Marco, who was about to be handsome. Watching Marco rush up to an upside-down golden hook and kick Kizaru, after being easily blocked by Kizaru with his arm, when Kizaru was about to speak. Slash wave. The black and red slashes slashed towards Kizaru. The moment Kizaru was slashed, he turned into a beam and rushed to the scarred naval headquarters building again. Kizaru appeared in the square again intact and turned into light, watching Luo Ye in the distance silently revealing a wretched smile. Good guy, I call the insider. If you read it right, You will be elementalized before the sword spirit touches you. Yes, the performance of the movie King level, it is worthy of the first water monster in this book. Luo Ye sighed after Kizaru's acting skills, turned his head to look at Marco beside him. No matter how many times you watch it, your fruit's ability is really good. As long as you have physical strength, you can recover no matter how serious the injury is. It's okay. Marco was stared unnaturally by Luo Ye and swallowed quietly. Luo Ye turned his head and watched Diamond Joe's laboriously buckle out a giant ice cube while eating the meat and threw it towards naval headquarters. Well, wait a moment, Luffy and the others have a place to stay, so they won't be thrown to death directly. Akainu, who had been hanging up, finally connected, looked at the ice block and complained that Kizaru had left their duties without permission. On top of their fists, lava surged. If we all leave here, who will guard the execution platform? I will endure Luo Ye to this place, you still don't know to come back. Great eruption. The huge fist that the magma turned into hit the ice block, the huge ice block was directly evaporated by the magma, and the magma turned into a meteorite falling towards the ice surface. However, under the deliberate control of Akainu, the number of magma blocks on the ship where Whitebeard and Luo Ye are located is the largest. Hey. You still hate me so much, Sakazuki, isn't it just the one who beat him 10 times before? Luo Ye looked at the magma falling on top of his head, swallowed the last piece of food in his mouth, and slowly stood up, ignoring the look in his distant hostile eyes, and drew his knife out of the sheath. Rub. The black and red slash cut the air magma block in half, and the scattered ones fell down. The magma burned out turbid smoke on the ice surface, which quickly melted the ice surface into large holes, and white gas evaporated. Luo Ye swiped the knife again to wipe out all the lava, then sighed and looked at Whitebeard and said, "Thanks for the hospitality, brother Whitebeard. Ah, yes, this one is for you." Luo Ye seemed to remember something suddenly, and threw a red pill to Whitebeard and jumped off the boat. Wait, Luo Ye, I don't remember having a brother like you. Well, Luffy is my nephew, Ace is Luffy's brother, and you are Ace's daddy again. In terms of conversion, we two are the same generation. Hee. I'll take care of Luffy later. Luo Ye looked back at Whitebeard and smiled. By the way, let me add that the things I give out are not allowed to be rejected, and I have to pay my life. After speaking, Luo Ye turned into a hurricane and rushed towards the execution platform. Whitebeard watched Luo Ye run forward and back, then looked at the pill in his hand. Take care of the Straw Hat Boy. What inexplicable things Luo Ye is saying. Daddy, this kind of pill from unknown origin is still, Daddy. Before Marco finished speaking, he saw Whitebeard take the pill directly into his mouth. After feeling the warm current of the body flowing through the painful place all the time, the pain immediately melted like snow meeting sunlight. Whitebeard laughed. It's okay, Marco, it's been a long time since I felt so comfortable. Marco looked at Whitebeard who was laughing, and laughed. It seems that I owe Luo Ye a favor. Give your life. Hee. As long as the old man is still there, why don't you replace the entire Whitebeard pirates? Luo Ye, the whole bastard, is really a good calculation, and it is really a big idea of shrimp and pig heart. Luo Ye swept forward. Suddenly, a pink figure in the marine justice cloak appeared suddenly. It's been a long time, Luo Ye-kun. Luo Ye paused for a while, looked at Oni-san who was in the way, wandered around, and then smiled. Oh, yes, it didn't take long on my side, but you are indeed a lot older, in various aspects. Chapter 23. Advertise here. Allah, is it the type you like? Momoshiki raised his hand and gently covered his Sakura's lips, tilted his head and asked Luo Ye with a little shame. Well, I like both the cute style before and the sexy style now. Luo Ye nodded, affirmed with a thumbs up. Bump. The Kimbiro in Momoshiki's hand was held by Luo Ye's arm wrapped one hand, and the corners of Luo Ye's mouth were slightly raised. I haven't seen you for many years, so take a knife and chop me. Gion sauce. No way, Hisang is still looking at us. Luo Ye-kun. Gion swiftly swung Jinpailuo and sent out many flying slashes to attack Luo Ye, but most of them were aimed slashes. Luo Ye dissipated the sword energy he was hacking with one hand, and turned his eyes to the distant crane vice admiral, and found that the other party was indeed staring here, mainly Luo Ye who was entangled with Gion. Ha ha ha, that Obasan is still so incomprehensible, but the old one is really fast, he can see a little charm before, now he is completely an old woman. Allah, Luo Ye-kun, it's very impolite to discuss women's age and appearance. Besides, it is 20 years of great events for us, but Luo Ye-kun does not seem to have passed 20 years at all. Why? Quote. Gion's slashing speed was much faster, as if he had been hit by a sore spot. There's no way. Who left my mental age unchanged? I slept honestly for 20 years. As for the maintenance method, it is an exclusive secret recipe. I can only tell the future wife. But you, quote. Luo Ye shook his head and laughed, and then carefully scanned Gion's body up and down. Gion noticed Luo Ye's gaze, stopped the attack, covered the body that couldn't be covered with his hand, and sighed towards Luo Ye. Luo Ye, what are you looking at? Huh, it's very attractive. I am also interested. But now I want to ask that my knife handle should be with you, right? Luo Ye coughed, his face straightened and asked. I am here, but you have to change the way of maintenance. Gion said with hands on hips, some Tsunere said. I have said, that is for the future wife. I didn't say I didn't agree to be you. Just as Gion's novel mumbled. Momosugi, I'll help you. The pig is advancing by leaps and bounds. Before Momosugi's words were finished, the T-Dolphin rushed over and drew the knife around Haki and slashed at Luo Ye. Luo Ye also changed his hand and drew the knife and slashed up. At the intersection of the two knives, two strands of emission, armament Haki entangled with each other, and the black and red emission quickly pressed the emission belonging to the T-Dolphin. The T-Dolphin screamed hard before it fell in the air. Luo Ye, you bastard, why did you show up? I obviously asked for a successful marriage right away. Puff. No, you disgusting bastard. Momosugi kicked him into the air before Chadu's words were finished. With a swish, like a cannonball, it flew straight into the distance. This wave of operations directly caught sight of the nearby Marines. Oh, why did Momosugi Vice Admiral kick the T-Dolphin Vice Admiral away? Nonsense. Can you hold back when you are insulted? Oh, that's how it is. After kicking Fei Cha Dolphin, Momosugi quickly looked at Luo Ye and explained, I have nothing to do with this stupid guy. Well, I know, don't you like me? Luo Ye said with a smirk. Well, I like you. Ah, Momosugi first repeated it, and then reacted with a flushing face and tried to quibble. Luo Ye laughed disapprovingly, just about to talk to Momosugi. At this moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky, where a warship descended from the sky. Ace, I'm here to save you. Luffy, X2. Seeing Luffy flying down from the sky, Garp and Ace stared. Garp furiously said, Luo Ye, brat. He even brought Luffy here. Sengoku yelled even more angrily, furious. Garp, it was your rebellious son just now. Now your grandson is here again. Why do you bastard have so many family members? Ah, Puff. Perfect as a whole. Luo Ye watched Luffy and the others perfectly fall into the ice cave that Joes had cut out just now with the warship, and sighed silently. Luffy is here too, so I have to speed up to rescue Ace, and then look for those big babies to settle accounts. Luo Ye watched Luffy yelling loudly while lying on the boat. Gion-chan, are you going to stop me from saving our eldest nephew? Huh, ours. But we are not yet nodded. Hearing Luo Ye's words, Gion's head was smoldering and talking. Give me the hilt of my knife first. Other people's weapons are always very difficult to use. Then pay attention to Whitebeard's attack, don't get hurt. After this farce is over, let's relive the past. Well, here you are. Gion took out a mysterious knife handle from behind. Just looking at it, it felt as if he was going to be seduced by the knife handle. After Luo Ye took the hilt, his mouth quickly tapped Momosugi's face, and then he flashed past Momosugi's side. This sudden change made Momosugi completely unresponsive and stood there blankly. It took a long time to come back to his senses, with smoke on his head and blushing cheeks. It felt like he was about to fall to the ground and fainted in the next second. Chapter 24. Advertise here. The Marines looked at the warships falling from the sky, and a large number of pirates suddenly emerged in surprise. That guy is a Straw Hat Boy. The one that rushed into Eni's lobby. A supernova with a reward of 300 million. Not only that, look, who are the people on that warship? That's a revolutionary cadre, Ivankov, former Shichibukai, Seaman Jinbei, Sand Crocodile. There are many notorious pirates imprisoned in Impel Down. Bastards who succeeded in breaking out of prison. On the huge square of Marineford, Hawkeye Mahawk, who was sitting on a chair with his arms folded, could not help but think of it silently as he watched Luffy appear. No matter what, you will always be on the cusp of the storm, the Straw Hat Boy. Straw Hat Kid. Shichibukai Moonlight Moria gritted her teeth while watching Luffy growl. Luffy, you're fine, that's great. Empress Boa Hancock can't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he sees Luffy escape from Impel Down without incident. Allah, here comes another incredible group of guys, it hurts, Luo Ye bastard. Aokiji, who had just treated the wound, looked at the group of people on the warship and exclaimed. It hurts me, Kuzan. Damn it, you came here, Straw Hat Boy. Smoker hobbled out following Aokiji. Unexpectedly, meet again so soon. Straw Hat. The old actor Kizaru said silently. That guy, the grandson of the hero Garp, the son of the revolutionary dragon, and the nephew of the bastard Luo Ye. He must be eradicated too. Akainu, who was preparing to stop Luo Ye on the road, looked at Luffy and said. No one pays attention to me. Have you all gone to see Luffy? Luo Ye murmured silently. Marco. Is that the younger brother that Ace often mentioned? Hey, the guy Luo Ye asked us to take care of just now appeared on the battlefield in this way. It's worthy of being Luo Ye's family. While Luffy and others were still cheering, Crocodile turned and looked at the Moby Dick behind him, focusing on the man on the Moby Dick. Damn it, here are some unexpected characters. Sengoku gritted his teeth and watched Luffy wait for the people. Anyway, this combination is weird. The cadres of the Revolutionary Army and the prisoners of Impel Down, and more importantly, Crocodile, I don't think his purpose will be the same as this group of people. Garp, who walked to Sengoku's side, said lightly, as if he were a retired veteran cadre, feeling that he had nothing to do with the matter in front of him. Sengoku was furious. Shut up. Garp, all of you bastards family. On the execution stage, Ace was moved with tears on his face. Luffy. Everyone. Long time no see, Whitebeard. I'm here to take your head. Suddenly crocodile elementalized from the warship appeared behind Whitebeard, and the hook of his left hand was drawn towards Whitebeard's neck. HMPH, really don't learn your lesson, kid playing with sand. Second gear. Touch. Crocodile's attack was immediately affected by Luffy, who was covered in water. Damn it. What are you going to do, Sombrero? After arriving here, even if my agreement with you is complete, why do you want to protect Whitebeard? Luffy, who stood in front of Crocodile, yelled to Crocodile in an attacking posture, hiding behind Whitebeard. Sure enough, this uncle is Whitebeard. Ace likes this uncle very much. You are not allowed to hurt him. Marco chuckled and said, good skills, Ace's brother. Whitebeard looked at the straw hat on Luffy's neck, and the look of Shanks appeared in his mind in the conversation with Shanks some time ago. Goo la la la, kid, your straw hat is very similar to the straw hat worn by Shanks before. Uncle, do you know Shanks? Luffy smiled brightly. I kept this for Shanks. You are here to save your brother. Yes. Do you know who the enemy is? Whitebeard Kong Yun slammed hard on the bow. The momentum that was brought blows Luffy's hair. Existing like you, but it will be lifeless. Ivankov in the distance looked at Luffy nervously, for fear that Luffy would be killed by Whitebeard's anger. Lord Luo Ye, where did you go? Your nephew is now in front of the strongest man in the world. As for Luo Ye, while everyone's attention was attracted by Whitebeard and Luffy, he quietly ran to the square on the island. After hearing Whitebeard's words, Luffy lowered his head and was silent for a second before shouting loudly, it's so noisy, you don't need to decide that kind of thing. Evakov's face turned pale in shock and he shouted Luo Ye to come soon. Luffy. I know, you want to be One Piece, right, but you want to be One Piece. It's me. It's me. Me. Luffy's echo echoed on the battlefield. All Marine and the pirates were shocked to raise their hands and open their eyes wide. Whitebeard looked at Luffy who was staring at him, the knife in his hand slammed into the bow of the boat after spinning a few times in the air. It's so arrogant, kid. It's exactly the same as your uncle Luo Ye when he was a kid. But I can't spare you if it's dragging my feet, snotty kid. Quote. Luffy. I will do what I want. Ace will be saved by me. Buggy. With Whitebeard. Ivankov. It's on the bar. Mr. Point 3. That's it. Collectively petrified, Luo Ye took a moment to look at this side, and couldn't help but hold his forehead. Ahahaha. You really deserve to be Luffy, my great nephew. It's okay for all the death sentences, Sengoku-san. Kizaru appeared beside Sengoku and smiled, pointing to Luffy and Whitebeard and asked everyone. Of course, the pirates are not worthy of sympathy. Chapter 25. Advertise here. Sengoku patrolled the square with his gaze, passing from Whitebeard and Luffy, and Luo Ye who couldn't find a figure. After frowning and being silent for a while, Sengoku took the phone worm out of his arms and announced to the phone worm. Crane, we are about to start fighting, let's ignore Luo Ye and the Straw Hat Boy, let's fight first. After receiving Sengoku's instruction, the crane that moved to Wantu responded, it's just right that the timing is advanced. Notify all soldiers. The sound of Blue Blood's phone worm rang everywhere in Marineford, and countless Marines picked up their own phone worms. Hearing the voices of telephone bugs one after another on the battlefield, Whitebeard stood on the mobile and watched as an old monk still stood calmly. What the hell are you thinking? The resourceful general, Sengoku of Buddha. Quote. Buggy, who was still on the warship, also heard the phone worm on the warship. Luo Ye walked to the naval headquarters square, and watched the soldiers cautiously watch out for himself with a smile. Don't be so scared. I'm not a cannibal. Baboon, don't you? I feel you are even more terrifying than evil spirits. Luo Ye turned to look at the speaker, a yellow-haired man wearing a pink feather coat and glasses. Really? Flamingo. Hum ha ha ha. It's really the first time to meet face-to-face formally. The former Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Monkey D. Luo Ye. Introduce yourself, Shichibukai, Doflamingo. Doflamingo made a standard aristocratic etiquette, looking up at the man in a black suit in front of him, and slowly leaving a drop of cold sweat on his head in an invisible place. So strong, ha ha ha, just being watched makes you feel the pressure of death at any time. Is this Luo Ye who slaughtered celestial dragons back then? Ha ha ha. As soon as this statement came out, the surrounding Marines were shocked by Doflamingo's words. Former Marine Vice Admiral, is this man from our Marine? Why have you never heard of him? Do you know, Kullo Rear Admiral? No, I have been in the army for 16 years. I have never heard of the existence of this man. It stands to reason that such a powerful existence should be easy to find information. Rear Admiral, known as Ku Luo, stared at Luo Ye and swallowed. So what's so expensive? The so-called Shichibukai, Mr. Doflamingo. Luo Ye asked, staring at Doflamingo. I'm here to discuss a business with you, Luo Ye. After speaking, Doflamingo controlled the surrounding Marine with a line to rush towards the battlefield, not giving anyone a chance to interrupt their conversation. Really? What business? Luo Ye asked with interest. On the execution stage, Garp didn't care about the phone bug in his arms, but walked in the direction where Ace was in front of him. Sengoku beside him stared at the fierce battlefield intently while questioning Garp. What do you want to do? Garp, do you have any objections to combat? No, The opponent is a pirate, not worthy of sympathy. So, Sengoku was about to say something when he was interrupted by Garp's anger. Shut up. Then he said in a slow tone. What does it matter if I stay here? After speaking, Garp watched Ace sit down cross-legged, and a series of stories appeared in his mind. I remembered that Ace and Luffy wanted to go to sea when they were young, and when the pirates were taught by them, I also thought that 20 years ago, they had to send their son into Impel down. Thinking of the end, he muttered in a low voice. Although bad guys are not worthy of sympathy, family members are different. Garp's shoulders trembled, and Humu started to cry. Ace was brought to play by Garp since he was young. Although it is the relationship between the pirate and marine, their relationship is first and foremost relatives. And now, as a grandfather, Garp wants to watch his grandchildren kill him in the marine camp, just for the illusory future situation and the so-called meaning to the world. What should the old man do? Ace, you bastard. Why not do what the old man said? Whether it is you or Luo Ye, why do you want the old man to be like this? Garp. Sengoku watched his old friend crying here, and knew in his heart that Garp had made a lot of sacrifices for their so-called justice. Looking at Garp in pain, Ace recalled what Garp had said to them when he was a child. Ace, Luffy, you want to be strong seaman, do you understand? You want to be as strong as Luo. Ace now remembered Garp's voice at the time, and he also understood what Garp said at the time. If you become marine, you might not have this situation today. But he is the son of One Piece, how could his identity be accepted by marine? Sengoku calmed down and said to Garp coldly. If you know anything wrong now, I can't spare you, Garp. Garp snorted coldly, wiping his tears. If you want to do it, I've already started it. You still think about how to block Luo Ye and Whitebeard's cooperation. Originally, a Whitebeard pirate group was uncomfortable enough, plus Luo Ye. It's okay for Garp not to mention Luo Ye, but to mention Luo Ye Sengoku directly. Not the son of your bastard. So what, if it wasn't for Marine's handling of the wrong way back then, Luo Ye would still be the strongest Marine. Those celestial dragons should have been. Shut up, Garp. Before he could say the last word, Sengoku interrupted him roughly. Of course Garp knew that he had failed. The old friend was thinking about it, so he laughed at himself, clasping his nostrils as if he could see through the world, with a face full of carelessness. On the contrary, if Luo Ye can save Ace, Ace won't have to die. Hee hee, wit like an old man.